We're on Facebook.
We are testing it out. If this goes all right, then maybe we'll live stream our first episode tonight.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
See how this goes.
So, hi out there. That right there, that's the officer, if you weren't aware. And if you've followed us before on Facebook and on the show, you know he is an actual officer of the law, and we can't show his face. So he has what looks to be a digital trick, and it's not. These are just a nice piece of Amazon plastic he found.
Awesome sunglasses. Awesome sunglasses. Yes. Yeah. So basically, I wasn't crazy about, just because I am a police officer and things are so political now, I didn't want to say something on here that would affect my job or could affect my job. And then on top of that, I also work in an undercover capacity. So
that's a safety issue.
My identity being out there in my capacity of my job is not a good thing. So
yeah, so this is a test run. There's a big gap right here.
It's for a giant person. He's going to be sitting. We're in stools. He's going to be in a chair, and he's going to be up to here where we are anyway.
Yeah, we're waiting for Adam Keefe to arrive.
To finish pooping.
You won't have a $200 bill. You won't have a $200 bill.
True, that happens sometimes.
That happened. Yeah, that did happen. Yeah. There is a. Oh, hey, my wife's watching. There is a change that's been made to the show. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But we're planning on, as this is going, to actually record this live, and then you can hear it, the podcast version, every Thursday as usual. So
just more options, so you can see our beautiful faces. Really.
Well, yours is like they can see your receding hairline and your nose. You're voluntarily.
So you can see my wonderful beard. How about that?
It is good.
I've been working on it.
It is good. So yeah, Keith is going to sit right here, and we have him sit in the middle, and he's on this little chair, which you can kind of see right there because he's 6'8".
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
My chair is much taller than his, and you'll see when he gets here. We're not going to be far off of being the same height. It's probably going to be pretty good.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty close there. So we'll see how.
Hey, do we have two people watching? I can't see through my glasses.
That's my mom.
Hey.
Hi, Mom. Where? Yeah.
Hi, Mrs. Griefer.
So like I said, yeah, a new thing we're trying, and we'll see how it goes from there. We're missing a banner, so if any of you fans out there want to work with us on that, we'd love to have one. We'll kind of we'll give you some love here on the show. And then, oh, hey, your wife's watching.
Hey. Hi, honey. Probably shouldn't have told everybody that.
Well, that's all right. That's okay. We're testing. I'll delete this. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. So,
but a lot of good stuff coming up. What are we talking about here? Oh, the college football playoff. And sorry to the officer, your Buckeyes didn't make it. He's an Ohio State fan.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Was it the right call? Did they get screwed? Should Bama have gotten in?
Unlike last week, we even have a little bit of NFL to talk about.
Yeah, and I think that one's going to get a little animated. Everybody kind of got fired up. It's mostly going to talk about the Pittsburgh-Cincinnati Monday night debacle and everything that turned into going forward. And all kinds of penalties and whatnot. And I'm going to tell you why I think the punishment scales for the NFL, it's been proven once again, are a joke. Congrats, Roger Goodell, for getting $200 million for the next 5 years.
Right.
I wonder if he got the private jet.
That's as much as he's made over the last 12 years.
Yeah. I wonder if he got the private. Did he get the private jet? I didn't see anything about him.
They haven't said. That was only leaked by likely Jerry Jones, and he was removed as a member of the of that committee. So we're probably not going to get the details.
Funny how that works.
Right.
Yeah. I was wondering how he thought if the $50 million was just let's just aim high and see what happens.
Well, I mean, it wasn't good for him, I guess, and his agent.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're testing things out. I'm Jason. That's the officer. Fumblegate Fatty, Adam Keefe, is going to be sitting right here. He's not here yet. But we're going to try and do this now every week. We're going to see how this goes tonight and do a live recording of the podcast. You'll still be able to hear the podcast version of it tomorrow, Thursday. SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher. I think that's all of them, right?
Yeah,
I got them all?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got them all.
Did you say iTunes?
I did.
Okay. Then
yes. Yeah, SoundCloud.com.
.clown. SoundCloud.clown.
Hashtag Fumblegate. SoundCloud.com/Fumblegate. Go in the iTunes store and search for Fumblegate. Just Fumblegate. You don't have to do like Fumblegate podcast or anything like that. Same thing with Stitcher. Same thing with Google Play. Subscribe. Download them all.
Yeah, we're the only Fumblegate anything out there.
Yes. Yeah, we did a lot of research into looking up Fumblegate in the past before when we started this project, and we are it as far as Fumblegate goes. We haven't applied for any trademarks or anything. We probably should.
We probably should before this thing really takes off.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a bad idea. Hashtag Fumblegate on the Facebook and the Twitter. See, that's rubbing off on me. Keep saying
the Twitter,
and I keep saying Twitter.
Yeah.
You're
another Keeftism rubbed off on you. I noticed when we were watching the game over the weekend, or one of the games, and somebody, I don't even remember who it was, made a boat-headed play. You bum.
You bum. Yeah, it did kind of. If you say it with enough emphasis.
And you were fired up enough that you meant it. So
was it a kicker missing a field goal? I don't remember.
I don't think it was. I think it was just a dumb play.
Or was it? I'm going to assume it was the Clemson-Miami game.
Probably. There was a lot of dumb stuff in there.
But that was all one-sided.
A lot of bums, actually.
Yeah, and the bums that wear the turnover chain. How'd that work out?
Yeah, well.
They got a New Year's Six game.
Yeah.
They'll take on Wisconsin in the Orange Bowl.
Honestly, it's two teams that probably made it through the year ranked higher than they should have, both of them, and we'll see which one.
I'm wondering if that game was the first team to 10 wins because they're both so bad offensively. Yeah. But that's okay. Thank you to those who are watching us right now. Again, we're testing this out right now to see how everything looks on the Facebook, and hopefully everything sounds okay for you.
Yeah.
Out there as well.
Yeah, and if this sounds like shit, then you probably won't see the live episode tonight because we're going to have to do some tweaks.
Yeah. So this is just a test. We've been talking about this for a couple of months, actually, I think, right?
Yeah.
It's been the last couple of months we talked about it. And if you're just tuning in now on Facebook Live, I'm Jason. That's the officer. You're not seeing anything funky over his eyes. That's to cover his identity because he is an officer of the law. And we do that to...
An undercover officer.
Yeah, undercover duty. Not a uniform officer anymore.
Yes.
How long were you a uniform officer?
12 years.
It's got to feel good to get out of that.
It felt great to get out of that.
Well, because now you can grow out that monstrosity on your chin. See, look at that. Salt and pepper.
Well, that's what sucks is I had to shave every day for 12 years. It started in my very early adult life. And then once I got into the assignment I'm in and I was allowed to grow facial hair, I missed out on all my black beard. It is now this stuff. Grow facial hair.
I had to turn it down. I had the volume off. Notice I gave you garbage earlier about turning the sound off on your computer.
And then
I leave it up on my phone because I'm checking to see how it.
I guess I could turn my computer off in the background here when we go live.
Yeah.
So that one less distracting thing.
Yeah.
It's just Roger Goodell back there.
Can we get a picture of that? No. Can we get a picture of that? No. Oh, that's just a Google search of Roger Goodell.
Yeah. Oh, that's what we need to do is just put a big picture of Roger Goodell.
Just a huge picture of Roger Goodell in the background. Yeah, that'll draw in that'll draw him in for sure.
Maybe it'll draw in some money.
He's got enough of it.
Yeah.
He's going to have more of it anyway. He did kind of aim high for that demand, did he not?
Okay. I mean,
go big or go home.
Right, he did.
And got, depending on the result of it, pennies on the dollar compared to what he wanted. I wonder if he got the health insurance too. Oh, wait, Keeft is watching. You're not here, you bum.
You bum.
You bum.
He's on the way here.
Yeah, he'll be here soon, and you'll be able to see him and all of his large humanness.
Yeah, he'll be sitting in this short little chair, and
he'll be
up
right
here
here
even with us.
This is why he and I are on the outside, sitting on bar stools.
Yeah.
Sorry, Barstool Sports. Not trying to come in on your space there. But yeah, he's watching. Chat with us, by the way. There's a chat there on the Facebook Live.
He
sent like 3.
No, he shouldn't be chatting
He's
on
commenting.
there because he's driving here.
Yeah, he is.
And as an officer, working in that I patrol one of the areas that I know you'll be driving through. I can tell you it is illegal for you to be text chatting on here while driving over here. So
what is that considered?
Maybe don't do that.
Is that considered texting? Because it's a Facebook chat.
I would say yes. But I'm
how would that play in court, though?
I'm probably the wrong one to. I would say honestly, I've never read that statute because I never actually had any intention of ever writing that ticket. Well, you know, I wasn't a traffic guy. I was a dope cop, which led me to where I'm at now.
You are a dope cop.
like dope, man. That's dope. Like that? Is that what you're saying? Okay, yeah.
By the way, we're in the officer's home.
Yes.
By the way, in a separate office area. Again, bear with us. Just a test run here, and if things go well tonight, we may just decide let's do the whole episode tonight. If not, you may have to wait till next week. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see if this sounds like garbage or not.
We're still going. Is Keith chatting? Is Keith commenting anymore? I don't know.
Maybe he's at a red light.
Nope. Well, what do you know? What can you do? But yeah, a lot of good stuff to get to. If you're not familiar with us, every Thursday we put out the podcast. It's usually about an hour. Sometimes can run as long as an hour and 30 minutes, but just one podcast a week. We talk all kinds of football, NFL, college. Every once in a while, you may hear us touch on the high school game. If you don't know, continue more about us. We're in the Cincinnati area, so if you hear us talking about, the Bengals or Ohio State more often than some other teams out there, you'll understand why. It's not our intent to be.
We try and stay away from that. We try not to do that.
Yeah.
But then obviously when there's news on the teams that are
correct,
our home teams, we're more in touch with that. Yeah. It's like the Bengals Steelers game. My dog's being an idiot right now.
I wonder if that's Keith.
Probably. My dog hates Keith.
He does.
So
Keith, is that you? I don't know.
Yep.
There he is. I heard him here. He's cussing at Baxter. He's cussing at Baxter, your dog. Is he coming in?
You gonna get in on this? Are you gonna get in on this test run? Baxter, shut up.
See? See, here he is.
Hey!
Look how ginormous he is. You have to sit down in the lower chair because you're so freaking tall. Oh, he doesn't have headphones.
Oh, we'll change that for the. It's not as good as I thought it was going to be.
It's all right.
You guys are sitting 4 feet higher than that.
You got to get him a box for the mic too.
Yeah.
We couldn't
Again,
we couldn't have you sit on the sides because you're giant.
Right.
Yeah, it happens. It's
right.
Okay.
See, but that's Adam Kieft, former Cincinnati Bengal. He's on the tweeter. I keep saying tweeter. Damn it.
I got you into that. It's my fault.
You did. Fumblegate Fatty.
Follow me.
Follow him.
Follow the show, more importantly.
Yes, follow the show at Fumblegate. The officer, you're on Twitter.
FGP Cop.
See? Follow him. He tweets a lot of things about Cleveland. Or
I love the land of Cleve.
Yeah. We have now a weekly segment where the officer just points out something hilarious that's happened in the city of Cleveland or with the sports team.
In researching, because I have fun doing that segment, I have read more about Cleveland sports or the city of Cleveland in general in the last month or two than the rest of my life combined by a wide margin.
You guys mean you never set up a trip to Cleveland? You weren't researching where to stay in downtown Cleveland?
No.
Unfortunately.
I've read more about Cleveland than any other team to probably to date this year.
Well, it's hard to follow what's going on with them because they don't get a lot of media coverage except for, they lost again.
Yeah, well, I think we're the extent of their media coverage.
Yeah. we might give them more publication than ESPN Sports.
Get him the headphones there.
Headsets.
You got to put your tripod on top of the box there too to get your mic.
Still too far away.
Yeah, it's really far away.
Sorry, echo.
There you go.
See.
You can't hear. Well, you probably could use that box to set your.
We'll do that. We're getting to it. It's technical difficulties.
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
No, we're just
it's a work in progress.
Yeah, we're getting it going.
So you, Adam, you listened on the way here. Did it? How did it?
I actually listened to it in the driveway out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
so you weren't driving?
Did it?
No, I don't ever listen and drive or Facebook and drive.
There you go. Now,
Did it sound all right?
Yeah, sounded good.
Okay, good.
Qualify that in front of the officer there.
Who's following? Coach Blevins still watching?
Oh,
Coach
yeah.
is still there?
Yeah, Coach is still there.
Coach might have quit. I see Dan Stout. There he is. What's up, Dan? Hey, we're going to talk all about Ohio State and how sweet they are. Ha, just kidding, you bum.
See what I mean? There it is. It just hits so well.
We can have Dan on the show one day, and he can talk about how he's the biggest Ohio State homer that we know. It's true, Dan. Don't pretend like you're not.
So
is that good? Do you need more? Do you need
sounds
something
okay.
higher?
Sounds okay to me, but I'm not the technical guy, so
Yeah,
I can't.
yeah,
I
I think
can't
it
be in
sounds
charge
good.
of it.
it should be good. So the officer has a segment. Again, we were talking about before. And do you want to tell folks the name of the segment?
Cleveland.
Cleveland.
That's actually what we've titled it, and you can use the hashtag Cleveland, UGH Cleveland, if you want to talk about it and or see a moment that's just really awful that involves
Anything that sums up the dumpster fire that is Cleveland.
Okay, you said it. I didn't.
City or team.
Yeah.
You said
Either
it.
one.
You said it. I did. Yeah, we're not impartial to just the athletics.
No.
And then this guy right here, Mr. Adam Keefe, again, he was a former offensive lineman for the Cincinnati Bengals a number of years ago, and throughout his playing days, he developed a guttural hatred for kickers.
No. I mean, it's
You're going to play it
deeper
down?
it's deeper than
Okay.
that. Deeper than that.
You're putting
It's like,
it lightly.
it's like in his soul.
It is.
But so what we do with Keefe every week now is there will be some kickers who will, some they'll give out awards for special teams player of the week, kicker of the week, things like that, because they've done some nice things, made maybe 3 or 4 field goals, maybe made a 50-yarder to win a game. We go the other way. And so because of that, we point out the guys that, for lack of a better phrase, screw the pooch. Miss an 18-yard field goal that would have sent your team to the NCAA playoffs. We've covered that. Miss an extra point. What was the extra point? That was included? Miss an extra point to lose right in the last play of regulation.
That was our player, our kicker of the week last week. Was
Yeah,
our boy from UConn.
Yeah,
who missed the extra point at the end of the game to lose the game for the team. They went from tying it with no time remaining to losing the game on a missed extra point.
So
well done, young man.
So you get the idea of what we do with the kicker of the week.
FFKOW.
That's it. Yeah, hashtag FFKOW, the Fumblegate Fatty kicker of the week. That's the Fumblegate Fatty. We have a nice, sweet trophy that we came up with, which we will send out on Twitter, usually the day or two after the podcast.
It is an awesome trophy.
Yeah, if you haven't checked it out, like us here on Facebook if you haven't already, and you can check out a couple of previous posts where you can see the trophy, and we had all made out, and there's a flailing kicker, and we just assumed that their kick was missed. So there you go. Oh, you guys, you Facebooking?
No, we're responding
to the group, responding to the chat. Okay,
we're responding to Dan to let him know that Ohio State didn't get jobbed, and we will talk about that tonight on the show. So if you want to hear why Ohio State didn't get jobbed, listen to the episode when it comes out tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we're going to record this live tonight, and you can hear the podcast version of it tomorrow. And your volume's up.
Oh,
your volume.
Nope, that was me.
Yeah,
that was your volume.
I logged into the video and my stuff was up. I got it.
Oh, okay. Good. See, now, you gave me garbage for it before. Now look at you.
We're new at this technology thing.
Look at you.
I mean, look. How many gray beards do you know that are technologically?
I got gray hair, not gray beards.
Is Santa catching up on it?
At least I have a slick little title for it, gray beard. That's better than saying I have gray hair. I'm a gray beard.
I have gray hair, but I won't lose it, so it'll be okay.
It's you say that great.
Now. Family history says I'll probably keep it for a while.
You know what? Family history says that I'd keep mine.
He's keeping
too,
the hood up. He's keeping the hood up to hide it. Did you notice that? Yeah, he's keeping the hood. No one can see it from that far.
It's in there. There's lots of it.
I say we roll with this, the live recording of the whole episode. What do you think, guys?
Just roll. Just keep right on through.
Well, I gotta have the thing start recording.
Yeah. Well,
I haven't started recording.
No, I gotta like get beer and.
Yeah,
go get it then. Go get it then.
And we need to like. I got to go through my pregame ritual. You know,
go get it then. I can leave this up until we're ready to record the whole show.
Plus, I feel like our head. We need to adjust it just a hair so our heads aren't.
Nah,
if I lean up.
Just lean. It's
how come it's not showing like comments in real time?
I don't know.
Like I don't know. I saw the ones that like somebody give a thumbs up real quick. Does it flash across the screen when we're watching it?
Yes.
Does it?
Yeah.
Who's still watching? Everybody still watching?
Yeah, we got 7 viewers right now. What are you talking about?
Good. Somebody throw a thumbs up in there. Throw us a like, and I want to see if it goes across the screen.
It does. See, there it goes. There it goes.
Yay.
I'm not sure which one of you did that, but thank you very much. See? Technology. Okay, so are you both going to go load up?
There, that's better level too.
Okay, well go.
All right. Yeah, I got some business to take care of.
Nope, you forgot. Don't forget your drink.
Can you keep this going?
Yeah, we can keep it going.
All right.
We'll just take
I'm feeling drink to keep it going.
I'm feeling scotchy tonight.
Scotch.
Yeah, officer's other hashtag is hashtag send me whiskey.
Send me bourbon.
Either one.
Or is it whiskey? Either one.
He doesn't care. I don't think you care either, do you?
No, as long as it's cold, I'll drink it.
Yeah, see?
Except for maybe that snake wine.
Oh,
sorry, Sean.
Yeah, the Vietnamese snake wine. Go back, and there's a previous post on our Facebook page. A few weeks ago, this guy here, when he joined the show, was given a bottle of Vietnamese snake wine.
It's scary looking. When we record at my house, I'll show it for all the viewers. It's kind of fun.
We've recorded, or we researched it, and apparently a lot of websites don't even recommend that you drink it.
No, because who knows what's in it? It's a little scary. Look at the bottle; it's an ungodly color of yellow, and I don't know. That will not be something we drink on the air. I'll stick with my cold beverages that I know what's in them.
And by the way, if you want these two guys, because I don't drink, if you want these two guys to drink your cold beverage out there, just send us an email at fumblegatepodcast@gmail.com, and we'll get your drink right here, and these guys will gladly drink it. Like you said, you'll drink it if it's cold. You don't care.
No, I really don't.
Think the officer cares either. He's like I
got to respond to Dan here real quick because Dan is stepping out of line.
Is he getting rowdy?
He's getting a little out of line. Like I said, he's an Ohio State homer, and so he's upset that Ohio State didn't make the playoff.
Don't lose by 31 to Iowa.
Yeah,
you bums.
You can't let Iowa run all over you and expect to make the playoff. It's not going to work out well for you.
We want to thank everyone who's watching this right now. If you like what you hear, share it out there. Get more people watching it. And if you have comments, questions, we'll do our best.
We can respond in real time. It might look a little funny on camera, but we'll do our best. Responding.
We'll do our best to answer those and as best we can. Oh, the officer's back.
I'm still working on it.
You forget that you got to get the koozies because we got to hide what's being
don't tell anyone
consumed here. Yeah, fumblegatepodcast@gmail.com. Yeah, you got to get there. There's one koozie. Keith needs one. Keith's like twitching right now. Oh, he's got two.
I always have koozies. Got to keep your beer cold and your hands warm.
One of them is for the high school that you're an assistant coach at.
Yeah.
By the way, I think coming up in a couple of weeks we'll have one of your one of your players on.
Yeah, we're gonna have one of our players on after he signs his national letter of intent to go to the University of Kentucky. He's going to come on the show and do a little kind of preview what it's like to go through the college recruiting process and kind of how SEC schools try and woo their players and so on. And it'll be pretty interesting because I went through that process 18 years ago, so it's something that I'm not exactly familiar with. And
times have changed.
Yeah, and this is the first time that I've had the opportunity to coach a Division I prospect, and especially an SEC prospect. So it's kind of fun. He made me look like a better coach than I really am, probably, but. It's kind of fun, and it'll be kind of fun to talk with him on the show and get a little insight into, the beginnings of college football and where players go from the high school to the college level at this time and so on.
So that'd be what, 3 weeks from now?
2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from tonight. He signs a national letter of intent on the 20th.
So we'll have him on the 20th.
Yeah, we're gonna have him on the 20th. So
okay, there you go.
At least that's what he told me. So Q, you're not on Facebook, or I don't know, kids don't do Facebook these days, but
he's on the Twitter.
He's on the Twitter.
We can send a tweet that Q, we're calling you out if you're not on in 2 weeks.
I got koozies for days.
Koozies.
Oh, he's not kidding.
So do I. I got a box just like that in my house. It's amazing. You should see him. We do the same. The officer and I do the same thing at our house too, or at my house too. It's a lot of fun.
So we're just missing. Like I was saying earlier before we're missing. We need a banner up there.
Yeah, like a Fumblegate banner.
Yeah,
Or like a picture of Nick Saban or
we were talking Roger Goodell because of the contract.
Because we love Roger.
Because of the contract he got.
Oh God, we'll talk about that tonight too, because that's I don't know about how that's all going to work out.
Yeah, there's a lot to get to, and just as a reminder, if you're just joining us, the podcast drops every Thursday. Usually runs about an hour. Sometimes can run long as an hour and a half in length. And we just do one show a week, so not asking too much of your time. But you're on the drive to work, traveling somewhere. You can pull it up on the various platforms.
I was angry.
SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher. Bluetooth them into your car or truck.
One thing we're learning about Dan is Dan does not listen to the podcast because all the stuff he's trying to explain to us, we've already talked about ad nauseum on our show.
Yeah, the episodes are archived out there, sir.
Come on, Dan. Before you start asking questions about whether or not Marvin should be fired and that he probably won't be, listen to the show and we'll explain why he won't be.
Well, you have insight. Still have some inside knowledge as to how the organization runs.
Well, yeah.
Granted, it
hasn't changed much.
It's been a few years since you've been a Cincinnati Bengal, but nevertheless, you probably still have a pretty good idea.
Well, the front office hasn't changed, so nothing there has changed.
Operationally, has changed.
Are we adding our Roger Goodell segment tonight?
We'll mix it in.
I just want to. What are we getting rid of something?
I don't think so.
All right.
We'll see how it goes.
All right.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
How do you share this?
Share what?
Just pull up the video and hit the share button.
Gotcha.
See, he's just sharing it on Facebook. You should do the same. I did it on my Facebook page.
You started recording when I was still in the car.
Okay, well you can do it now.
Okay, here we go. I was looking at my my final stats for my Roger Goodell statement because I can't write while I'm driving.
You all right over there, officer? You get yourself situated.
Got to readjust.
You got to get loaded up here. Oh, you put the chair next to you, between you two.
Yes.
You can see a little chair right down here. That's not for a fourth person. That's just simply for drinks. Okay, and then hold it up, officer. Can't see it. Look at that.
So this is this glass. This Maker's Mark glass was from my neighbor Paul. Thank you, buddy. It's shaped exactly the way that the bourbon snobs say is like the best shape for. I have no idea on this. It's like,
what do you care?
Supposed to. It tastes good to me regardless.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But whatever. It's
Fumblegatepodcast@gmail.com if you want these two guys to have your beverage of choice here on the show.
Not snake wine.
Not the Vietnamese snake wine.
I don't know.
No.
Really?
I got some for free.
You're not as dumb as a meat hook.
Nobody's as dumb as a meat hook.
Did you crack one?
I'm working on it.
This is a tradition too. That right there, cracking the can.
You just need that crisp, that pop. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice. Gotta get my final number here. I know there's one other I gotta find. That's right.
Okay, so Keith's making last-minute preparations here, and then here in just a few moments we'll actually start the recording of the podcast.
This is fun. We should set up something like a Q&A.
We talked about that.
Yeah, there won't be on the podcast.
I'm answering questions.
We talked about that, doing like a bonus segment after the recording.
Yeah, I like that.
Because like I said, this guy here played for the Cincinnati Bengals, so he'll have some insight into the locker room and the front office and things like that. Or maybe if you just want to know what life is like in the NFL, drop a comment, and this guy here, Mr. Adam Keith, will answer it to the best of his ability.
So he's got obviously credentials, and you do too, Jason. You're the play.
Yeah, I'm the play-by-play.
The voice of the Georgetown Tigers.
Yeah, there you go. Georgetown College Tigers. You can hear me calling football and men's and women's basketball games there. So
yeah, I'm the only one here that's just along for the ride.
If you work security, if you worked as a police officer at football games.
This is true. Okay. Funny little story. I've back in the day when I was in my patrol days, especially in my newer days, you get detailed down to the game a lot.
Sure.
And when you get sent down there, like when you sign up for it and you're a veteran, that's where you get in the stadium, down on the field and whatnot. When you're a new guy and you get sent down there, you're like 2 blocks away from the stadium, sitting at a traffic light.
So that's not really working the game.
Well, it's work.
Switching the lights,
switching the lights, and dealing with the traffic and the
that's
drunks.
boring.
It's awful. And I made it a habit. I had fun with it. That whenever I saw the opposing team's jerseys,
you switch the light.
Walking my way, I always switch the light. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if I just hit it, and then if they would start to go anyway, like I'd jump out in the street and yell at them to not jaywalk in front of me. Oh, cheers.
Keith, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. Are we gonna? All right, never mind. Are we doing the whole thing live here?
Yeah, why not?
Whatever. It's cool.
See? What does it matter? Okay, so bear with us for just a second. I'm going to get everything set up to start recording, and then we'll actually get into the actual podcast, and we'll see how it goes after the fact. Once we finish up recording, if folks out there, you still have some questions that you want to get answered, whether pertaining to the podcast. Like I said, if you want to talk to Adam Kieft about life in the NFL and as a Cincinnati Bengal, so on and so forth, we can touch on that too. So here we go.
Oh, shoot. What did I do here? Shoot. I lost my feed. I wanted to answer questions.
Yeah, hang with us, though. Well, let's see here.
No, I got it.
Dan says that Marvin will never be fired, right?
I told him to listen to the show. We talk about that all the time.
Yeah, but one thing he forgets is, or maybe he doesn't, Marvin doesn't have to be fired. His contract's up this year. That's the perfect time for Mike Brown. Mike Brown's rarely going to fire anybody because he doesn't want to pay anybody that he's not.
That isn't coaching.
Yeah. So I would say Marvin is just going to not get re-signed or he'll retire.
We're still live?
We're still rolling. It's just not on our screen, but.
Oh, I got you. I just want to make sure. Because it looks like it's paused. I was going to share it.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
We'll see if that adds to our viewers.
Yeah.
We got 8.
That's all right. We'll keep going.
Hey, whatever.
All right. Welcome into the Fumblegate podcast. Follow us on the Facebook and Twitter at Fumblegate, #Fumblegate. Keith, your Twitter, please.
Fumblegate Fatty.
Officer.
FGP Cop. Nice.
There it is. He's 1 for 1 today.
I got to say, you kind of caught me off guard because I was looking at my phone when you started this.
Strong start.
Yeah, I know, right? Normally, when we're not live streaming on Facebook,
yes,
right before you start it, I typically say something or make some kind of noise that makes us laugh. And I was going to do that.
So
we can laugh anyway.
So starting with this episode and going forward, we're going to try to stream this on Facebook Live every week. Usually every Wednesday night while we record is when you can watch this podcast. Of course, you can still listen to it as you are now in podcast form going forward. 3 of us here. Up until this point, there have been a 4th, FGP, Fuban, Drew. We've had some discussions over the last week, and Drew has decided to move on from the Fumblegate podcast, so it's a 3-man show going forward. Let's get right into it, and one of the bigger bits of news over the weekend, which is probably the most exciting bit of news of the weekend, was the conference championship games in college football. Everything kind of went to chalk. Who's got their volume up? Keith. Everything kind of went to chalk. He does.
I just started all over again.
You bum. You bum. Okay, so let's go back into it. This past weekend, all the conference championship games happened. Not really any upsets at all. You could qualify Georgia over Auburn as an upset merely based on ranking, maybe based on the fact that Auburn spanked Georgia a few weeks ago. But now you have the playoff system is set. You have in the Sugar Bowl, you have number 1 Clemson taking on number 4 Alabama, which we'll get into more of that here in just a second. And then Oklahoma, who steamrolled TCU in the Big 12 title game, they take on Georgia, who, as I mentioned before, beat Auburn in the SEC title game. So the big debate we had last week, and everybody had across the country, was who would get in between Alabama and Ohio State if Ohio State won the Big Ten title game. Ohio State won the game 27-21. Wasn't the prettiest game to watch by any stretch of the imagination, but Ohio State won the game. Alabama still gets in. Officer, I know you're the resident Ohio State fan here in the group. You thought Alabama would get in anyway unless Ohio State won by a wide margin, which they didn't. Yeah. Do you have an issue with the fact that Bama got in?
No, I don't. I think they had too much to overcome. The fact that ugly loss to Iowa, that's really hard to make an argument against that when you have that on your resume. Yes, they won the conference, which Alabama didn't. Yes, they had a little bit tougher schedule overall, but they had an ugly loss to an unranked team, and Wisconsin appeared to be an inferior team to Ohio State on the field. And if they played the second half like they played the first half, maybe. But it got ugly. JT Barrett is too erratic.
Would you say this was a game they won again in spite of JT Barrett?
Absolutely.
Yes.
He was
100%.
awful. He was so bad.
I mean, you really look at the game, and it came down to essentially 3 big plays in the first half. And it was, 2 long touchdowns and 1 long run, and it ended up making the difference. And we talked about this before the show that, Wisconsin's defense got stouter in the second half, held them to a field goal or 2 field goals in the second half. Didn't necessarily play great, but saved the 3 big plays in the first half. That makes a difference. And it was Ohio State had to make that win impressive to try and take over the 4th spot in the playoff. And it just wasn't impressive. And JT Barrett didn't look good. He didn't do a great job.
Yeah, they kept throwing up the statistic all throughout the game on how he was 1 for a million on passes more than 15 yards down the field. And so many of them, the receiver was wide open or had the guy beat, had a step on somebody, and he just missed. I mean, he overthrew him or just outright missed a lot. And it was I don't know. It was
an unimpressive win. It really was.
It was.
And it's hard to convince a committee that you're good enough to be in that 14 playoff when you win unimpressively, because they weren't giving any credence to Wisconsin. Wisconsin took until week 12 to get into the Final Four.
Right.
And so to make that win look better, they had to win convincingly, and they didn't. It was an ugly win at the end of the day, and it's hard to put the team that wins ugly over a team that no one gave any respect, and combine that with that 31-point loss to Iowa. They just don't look like a top 4 team in college football.
We all thought going into last week, and in fact the committee chair had said it, that the 31-point loss suffered by Ohio State at the hands of Iowa was just, we all thought it would be too big to overcome, and it turns out that's basically what they said. I mean,
the committee basically admitted that was the deciding factor, that you can't lose to an Iowa team by 31
you
points.
heard all these you heard all these people, the Ohio State apologists out there saying, oh, we have a moving target now because Alabama didn't make the title game and blah 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 and so on and so forth. And my argument to that every time is, don't lose by 31 to a 7-win team.
Last year, Ohio State made the playoff
without winning the conference championship. They didn't win their division.
They didn't even get into the title game.
They actually have come out now twice in a row and said that's okay. You don't have to win your conference championship.
And Ohio State set that precedent last year, and now it cost them this year.
Right.
And Ohio State fans are upset about it. But
and then on top of it, you what happened when Ohio State got in last year? They got blown out by Clemson.
And do they really want to see him get blown out by Clemson again? And Alabama may get blown out by Clemson. That may be the case too. But
God, I hope.
Yeah, it would make for a more interesting conversation on why Ohio State wasn't in there. But then again, that was the argument last year. Ohio State was in there, and then they got drugged, and everybody's like, why is Ohio State in that game? They can't even put up a single point.
Right.
So
with the way it turned out, are you happy that we keep it at 4 teams?
No, I'm still not happy.
What you want 8?
I want 8. I think 6. I don't know about giving a team a bye week. A lot of people say, "Oh, we'll give the top 2 a bye week."
That's where I'm at. I'd say if you're going to expand, go to 6. The team that finishes number 1 and number 2, you deserve that extra week. And I'm not saying play the New Year's 6 games as they are right now. Just play the quarterfinals as it were a week before that.
Yeah, I say go all the way out to 8. Then there's no argument about a conference champ. You have the Power 5 conference champs their way in.
My only thing with that
is do like the conference champs and then 3 wild cards.
Yeah, the top group of 5 automatically gets in. This year would be UCF, and then 2 wild cards.
My only issue
fine.
with going to 8 teams is that you can have another year like this year where you're going to have 2 and sometimes 3 lost teams playing for the national championship, and I don't think that's what the NCAA wants.
No.
I don't think because you're going to have, if you expand to 8 and say a 3-loss team gets in as a 7 or 8 team, eventually one of those teams is going to win the title, and you're going to have everyone freaking out saying a 3-loss team is really considered the best team in the country.
It makes to me, I hearken it to like the basketball tournament where every team has a chance, and right now every team doesn't have a chance because you got to be in that top 4. And UCF may get blown out, especially with their coaching change, but it's one of those things that UCF doesn't even have a chance to play for it because they have the best offense in the country, and they went undefeated. They did beat every team they got put in front of them, but they don't even have a chance. And that's and again, I'm not saying that UCF has a chance to win the national title. I don't think they do, but unless you play the games, you have no way to find out. And the same thing with, maybe a 3-loss team like Auburn is the best team in the country, just had 2 bad weeks against Georgia and Clemson, and that's, now they don't have a shot at coming back around to play it. I don't know. It's hard because we didn't even have a playoff. We had just strictly the BCS before this, and that was frustrating to everybody. So the 14 playoff was a new system that everybody, thought would be a good deal. And every year there's an argument of why isn't this team in or why isn't that team in, and maybe 8's not the right argument. Maybe
let's just do a tournament with every team in the country.
Start with 128 and go from there. Let's see what happens. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is, but every year there's going to be an argument to expand it. And this year is even bigger argument because a team like Ohio State stays home. A team like USC, who's got a pretty similar resume as far as record goes, and won their Power 5 conference, they're sitting at home.
Right.
It's one of those things that you can always make an argument to make it bigger, and I don't know if it changes. If the NCAA decides they can make money expanding it, then that's when you'll see it expanded.
So all the matchups are set now as far as the bowl games go. 39 bowl games this year. Do you want to take a dig at Western Michigan since they didn't make a bowl game? 3
teams that sitting at 6-6 that are sitting at home. 2 of them out of the MAC, Buffalo and Western Michigan.
There's that
Maction played a 7 overtime thriller earlier this season, which was kind of fun.
Yeah,
and it didn't matter. Neither of those teams ended up making a bowl. I'm just glad that Western went from the Cotton Bowl to playing nobody. Shout out Jake Paul for that one.
Your Chippewas are going to potato land.
Chippewas are going to the mashed potato bowl out in Boise, Idaho, playing on the blue turf. But you know what? It's something. It's an experience for those kids. I got a chance to play on that turf. It'll be an experience for them.
So the New Year's 6 bowls are set. Clemson, Alabama, Oklahoma, Georgia. We talked about those. The Cotton Bowl will see Ohio State take on USC. Penn State against Washington in the Fiesta Bowl. The Orange Bowl sees Wisconsin taking on the Miami Hurricanes, who were throttled in the ACC championship game by Clemson. It was 38-3 and wasn't even that close. And finally, it's the Peach Bowl. UCF, we talked about before, they're not going to play for the national title. Make of that what you will. They will be in the New Year's 6 because they were the highest ranked team outside of the Power 5. They take on Auburn in the Peach Bowl. And that matchup, you guys know how I am with the football. I like offense. I want to see a bunch of scoring, and I want to see a bunch of scoring in a hurry. Give me that Peach Bowl all day long, Auburn and UCF, because UCF's defense has been leaking like a sieve the last number of weeks. Officer, you and I watched the thrilling game against Memphis. They went up 62-55 in double overtime. It was hilarious watching how much scoring there was. The Auburn game is going to be the same way. Both these teams are going to get up and down the field and score because, like Keith mentioned before, no one's been able to stop UCF. And with the way their defense is playing, Auburn, you would think, is going to be able to run up and down the field on them and score a bunch of points. That's where I'm at. I'm most interested to watch that one because I know there's going to be a ton of offense in that one.
You know what makes me happiest about that game? Scott Frost is sticking around.
Yes, he is.
That is outstanding. I love that.
Credit to him.
That is awesome for him.
He's leaving to go to Nebraska. You got his $35 million for 7 years. Good for him for getting the money. But even bigger credit to him because it's becoming more and more of a trend to see those guys bail immediately. We're seeing it with Willie Taggart at Oregon bailing to go to Florida State before their bowl games, so on and so forth, and other coaches do it every year. It's not a shot. It's not a dig at Willie Taggart. It's become more the norm.
It's the nature of the game. The NCAA has forced coaches to do that.
But it sucks.
But still, give credit to Scott Frost to wanting to see it through.
It's sad that it's really cool that he's going to finish the season that he started.
That he started, and those kids deserve, and I think he wants to do that too because he. Yeah. I mean, how many coaches get to say they have a 13-0 season on their 13-0 season on their record? I mean, you can probably count them on one hand. So,
although my hopes aren't very high for them to actually pull it off.
No, I mean, I think it's gonna be a difficult game for him, but it would be far more difficult. It would be far more difficult if he wasn't there. Because he's taking almost his entire staff is going with him to Nebraska. So if he doesn't stick around for that bowl game and kind of go through the process of putting in their scheme and all that stuff that they want to use for that bowl game, it wouldn't even be fun.
It'll be interesting how the emotions that come out of that game. Yeah. Like I said before, I just know even whether UCF is up for the game because they want to send Scott Frost off the right way, or if they just say, some kids have the attitude, this guy's bailing on us. I don't think that's going to happen. But the one thing I know, regardless of that, they're going to score, and Auburn's going to score. So for me, that's the New Year's 6 game I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah. Officer, you got one that you're looking forward to?
You guys? Which one?
Well,
if you want to say the same one, say the same one.
I can go if you want. Dude.
No. Honestly, I'm kind of excited. It's lame, but Clemson, Alabama.
Yeah. For the third year in a row.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just that I'd like to see if Clemson really is the real deal this year, or if they're the team that lost to Syracuse, or if they're the team that's rolled the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And we'll see if Alabama deserved it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to answer a lot of questions in the first matchup.
I mean, I think that's going to be a good game. I really think. I mean, they're playing that one in prime time. I think that's going to be a good game. To me, I want to see Ohio State versus USC, because to me, what it comes down to is those were the two teams in my mind that should have been sitting at 5 and 6 with an argument to be number 4. Just they won a Power 5 conference. They both had 2 losses. It would have been interesting had TCU won somehow to see which one of those two got the 4th spot if everything got bumped up. And again, we talked about this last week. That was the only way that most of us thought Ohio State had a chance of getting in, was if TCU beat Oklahoma. So to me, that's what's kind of fun, is this 2 Power 5 conference champions playing. There's a bit of rivalry there. They've played 22 or 23 times previously, but
probably not usually in the Cotton Bowl.
No, not in the Cotton Bowl. They're going to Jerry's house, and they're going to play in front of 100,000 people, and it should be a good game. The interesting thing, I looked up a little bit about the game ahead of time. USC has actually won the last 7 games in a row in this matchup.
I would not have guessed that.
Yeah, I would not have guessed that either. They've played each other quite a few times, mostly in Rose Bowls, but I wouldn't have guessed that USC had won the last 7 in a row. But the thing that's cool to me is it's 2 teams with a ton of history. They are top 10 in nearly everything as far as programs go. Heisman Trophy winners, overall wins, win percentage, national championships. They're top 10 in almost everything. So there's a lot of history not between the teams, but
sure
on both sides. That it's kind of fun to see 2 teams with that much history matched up against each other in a big game like that.
I think it's one of the reasons why they put this game in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, because the NCAA knows both of these fan bases will travel.
Oh, absolutely.
And like you said, that will be a sold-out building.
Yeah.
They said it's not a semifinal, it's not the national championship. That'll be a sold-out house down in Dallas. I think it's why they put it there, because they know it's sort of centrally located between the schools, California and Ohio.
And they gave them the biggest venue.
Yes.
I mean, you can't get a bigger venue than Jerry's house.
And they're going to fill it. They're going to fill it for sure.
It'll be a good one.
So there are a lot of good matchups coming forward in the New Year's 6 bowls and all the bowl matchups. We're gonna get into those in more detail as we go forward.
Real quick before we move on and talking about matchups, can we mention about our last episode, because I think we all picked some games.
Oh God.
Oh boy.
Great.
Okay. So let me set up. So
here comes the goat to gloat for us.
So the last episode we all gave our conference title picks. There were 6 games we all picked. And then we would go on to predict who made the playoff, and we actually gave the rankings. Keith and I went 5-1 out of the 6. I missed on Auburn, and Keith missed on Wisconsin.
Missed on Wisconsin. I had too much faith in the Badgers.
Yeah.
The Buckies pulled it off.
But one of us went undefeated.
Oh, yeah.
Picked every game right.
Okay, take it. Go ahead.
The officer got
the officer picked all 6, and consequently, he also picked his final 4 correct.
He got the final 4
in the right order and everything.
Right order and everything. Yeah. So, big ups to the officer.
Congrats to you. Get your gloating in now.
Grudgingly want to admit that. Thank you.
That it hurts. It really does. Okay, so the officer got his gloating in. So now let's move into a segment that's for Mr. Adam Kieft. If you're just joining us here on Fumblegate and you like what you hear so far, of course, if you haven't been able to tune into past episodes, Adam Kieft has a profound love for kickers in football. And when I say profound love, I mean
more like hate, like disdain, anger.
You said earlier it was before we came on. It was beyond guttural.
Yeah, it's just a long-standing dislike for kickers.
So he likes to point out the kickers that do the wrong things from week to week. We call it the Fumblegate Fatty Kicker of the Week. If you have a nominee out there, you can submit it on the Twitter using hashtag FFKOW, Fumblegate Fatty Kicker of the Week.
And for
You have one this week.
Yeah, those of you that are on live and you may not have listened to the show before, we've had them from all levels. We've had Division II kickers. We've had 1AA kickers. We had Division III kicker featured 1 week.
At NFL, NAIA?
NAIA.
NAIA. We've had multiple week winners. Paulie Furcano from the Eastern Michigan Eagles won twice in a row.
Like you said in the previous episode, it doesn't matter what level you play. If you're a horrible kicker,
I will find you.
I will find you.
I will look for you. I will find you, and I will award you.
I will award you. I will give you a tweeter certificate.
There is a certificate.
Trophy.
Yeah,
we have a certificate and a trophy.
And a trophy.
So, Adam Keefe, this week's Fumblegate Fatty Kicker. Well,
and this one's relevant. And unfortunately, a lot of good games this week and not a lot of bad kickers, which is frustrating for me because it makes me look bad. But we do have one. It came from a conference championship game. Matter of fact, came from UCF versus Memphis. Memphis' Riley Patterson went 2 for 4 on the game. And for those of you who don't know, they ended up losing the game in double overtime, 62-55. But his 2 misses, not good for him. He misses from 46 in the fourth quarter. And then they get another chance. Well done, officer. Gets another chance from 46 again with 28 seconds remaining. Unfortunately for him, his team gets a delay a game penalty, but it was good for him because that ended up getting blocked. So he gets reprieve, and he gets to kick it again. This year from 5 yards farther back. He gets it now from 51. 28 seconds left on the clock again in a tie football game to win the game, and he missed it. Again.
This would have put Memphis in the New Year's Six.
In the New Year's Six, they win the conference. They make a New Year's Six bowl. Scott Frost goes out with a loss, heads to Lincoln, Nebraska.
He probably doesn't even get the Nebraska job.
Yeah, he probably loses his job over that.
Way to go, Riley Patterson. You just gave Scott Frost $35 million.
Thanks a lot, Riley.
Yeah, Bob.
But, 2 field goals from 46. One gets blocked. He gets a reprieve, and he gets to kick it from 51. He misses that one, too. 2 for 4 on the night. Unfortunately, when your team loses in double overtime, when you had a chance to make either one of those field goals and they win it in regulation, 2 kicks. He had 2 shots at it. Actually, he had 3. One of them got blocked. That was your fault, too. Anyway, for that, Riley Patterson of the Memphis Tigers, you are this week's winner of the Fumblegate Fatty Kicker of the Week.
Never leave the game on the foot of a kicker.
Never. You gave him 2 shots at it in the fourth quarter, and he missed them both, and he got a third one delay a game, but he got that one blocked too.
So how much?
Just bad.
So how much money do you figure the school has lost because of that? Going from the bowl game they're in to a New Year's Six.
I think the guarantee for a New Year's Six is $2 million.
Oh,
I believe, and then the conference gets one anyway because UCF went, but
right. But the school itself,
I think it's $2 million. I think you go from like a $2 million guarantee from a New Year's Six down to I don't even know what bowl they ended up getting in, but I'm sure it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like $450,000 or $500,000.
More, so it was more than $1 million.
More than $1 million difference, probably
for a school in Memphis. That's
more than your scholarship's worth, Riley. Sorry, buddy.
Quickly turning into a football school because the basketball coach there is quickly running it down into the toilet.
Yeah.
We'll move on. From the opposite end of things now in college football, the finalists for the Heisman Trophy were announced this past week. Baker Mayfield, as you expect, will be in New York for the ceremony, as will Lamar Jackson of Louisville, last year's Heisman Trophy winner, and put up stellar numbers again this year, even though his team around him didn't perform as strong. And Bryce Love, the running back from Stanford, who for most of the season led the nation in rushing, didn't end up finishing up there at the top. That was the title gone to Rashad Penny, the tailback from San Diego State. So just 3 honorees being sent up to New York for the ceremony. You could make a case that Lamar Jackson should get more consideration than he's going to.
Well, he's had a better year than he did last year when he won it.
Yeah,
it's just Louisville's just been so up and down.
But
8 and 4
it's not
this year.
because of the offense.
That's
is
true.
Is it the quarterback's fault that the defense is terrible?
No,
it's not.
And
but the thing, I don't think anyone would disagree that this is Baker Mayfield in a runaway.
Yeah,
I do disagree with that. I don't know that who.
Do you think Lamar Jackson has to be the next challenger, right?
Yes,
but
absolutely.
His team was 8 and 4, and they're playing in a game you've never heard of.
So
that's the nature of the award, though.
In their 4 losses, their defense averages giving up 43.3 yards per game.
That's
not
nature,
his fault.
That's the nature of the game.
He is electric. I think he is the best player in the country.
I mean, you can make that argument, but unfortunately, this is no longer the best player in the country award. This is
the
best player on one of the best teams.
So because their defense is piss poor and they lost 4 games because of the defense, that's his strike number 1. Strike number 2 is because he won it last year.
Yes.
And so they've both been the best 2 quarterbacks over the last 2, maybe 3 years. But
you can't honestly think
at least now they both get a and I feel like is what they're saying. Like, okay, well,
I do agree. I do agree that the having won it previously works against you to try to win it again. We always seen it happen one time, Archie Griffin in the 70s at Ohio State, 74-75. I think it does work against you now because for some reason, they're just adamant against awarding it.
He's improved every aspect of his game this year.
He has.
But so has Baker Mayfield.
I know. And so my only thing is everyone is Mayfield's running away. And it shouldn't be. I feel like it should be closer.
It probably
You're right.
shouldn't be.
But that's not not the reality.
I know. But I'm just. I personally disagree with what it is, and I realize that's not what it is. It's just my
I would argue. I would argue Saquon Barkley should be sitting in the room, and he's not.
The thing with Barkley is he had the game against Ohio State in which he did
some bad games.
He did nothing.
Yeah. Oh, he had some bad games.
The following game, which he did nothing. It might have been against Michigan State. He was very quiet in that game. And in the Heisman race like this, especially when you're in a high-profile program at Penn State, you can't have games.
No, you got to show out every week. But
especially when it was number 2 against number 3 at the time, Penn State, Ohio State, and he ran for like 40 yards.
Yeah.
You can't have that.
No, I agree.
That game did him in.
I just if we're arguing, based on who,
you're right.
Should be in the room.
And I agree that Bryce Love should be there. And if he's not, I feel like if he's not hurt, he might have it running away. If he finished the season the way he started it,
if they win the Pac-12 championship, that changes things too.
Yeah,
but, when you lose a conference title game, and that's the lasting image is your team. And credit to him, he played his ass off in that game, and he was clearly hurt. And he's playing the entire game hurt, and he
had a high ankle sprain.
Yeah, and that's
a painful injury.
He's been slowed most of the end of the season with that, and it's
right. And he's still only averaging almost a first down per touch.
I know.
So
credit to him for sticking through it. But yeah, it's Baker Mayfield's running away. But should it be? Probably not. But that I
get it. I agree that it is. I just don't agree that that's
the nature of the award has just become who's featured on national media essentially, and who do you see every week on TV? You see Baker Mayfield. I mean that's why he's going to win the award. That's why you're not going to see a small school kid get in the room. That's why That's why Rashad Penny's not sitting in the room. He's a small school kid.
So I'm going off script here, but just who do you guys think has the best NFL potential between the 3 that are
sitting in the room?
Yeah,
Bryce Love.
Think so?
He's plug and play.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson has phenomenal talent,
but he's a 195-pound running back.
Yeah, but you can get away with that and
make him a third down back for now.
And
we saw Christian McCaffrey, and Stanford used him up. But McCaffrey's the same type of build. Bryce Love is a guy that's plug and play right away. Lamar Jackson was just it was almost an improvisational offense.
He's a thrower, not a passer.
Right? Yeah, and he's an athlete playing quarterback. And he's a hell of an athlete. Don't get me wrong, but to get him in a structured system, that will take some time. Now he'll be allowed to improvise. We're seeing that more and more in the NFL nowadays too. Mayfield, I think he might be the longest term project in the league.
He's a little undersized. He's got that Drew Brees type thing going, and he's got a long way to go to actually be Drew Brees.
But he's a built-in leader. I mean, he you watch how he leads the program right now, and he's a guy who he has some character issues, but he also isn't one that's going to shy away from the spotlight and what it's going to take to be a leader of an NFL team. And I still think Love's the best plug and play player that's on there. So I think Saquon Barkley's a plug and play player too. He's not sitting in the room, but that's
I think Saquon Barkley probably has a better career.
He may be the number 1 pick.
Yeah,
I mean he may be the number 1 pick in the draft, just depending.
Well, Cleveland's not going to take a running back.
If Cleveland,
they might actually.
And if they're
going to trade down.
They're going to trade down to get a quarterback they want.
They're going to trade down and not take.
Yeah.
One of the best quarterbacks available.
Yeah, they'll probably miss. But, that's Cleveland, and we'll get more into Cleveland and their mistakes. Always.
That's later in the show. Yeah, that's coming up later in the show. A lot of coaching changes. Of course, the carousel still goes on in college football. First of all, Tennessee still has no coach.
And now no AD.
Well, they've hired Philip Fulmer as the AD now. I think it maybe just be a fill-in spot.
Yeah, that's just something because it puts a name in the.
Shout out though to the gentleman that got fired there at Tennessee, because he's not going to make $100,000 for the next 54 months.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. So you're doing
good on your agent too for that buyout,
and you're paying Butch Jones $200,000 a month for the next 40 months. So
yeah, Tennessee is paying a lot of money to people who don't work for them.
Send some right here. Send some right here.
And they still haven't figured out whether or not they're going to be paying Greg Schiano next year too.
If they want to give people money for doing nothing, they can.
Right here.
I'll take it.
Three of us right here.
I can sign a contract and not play it out. I can do that. I'm good at that. Ask the Bengals. I signed a contract, didn't play a single down for them.
Played the preseason.
How many preseason plays did you get?
8.
Did you do?
Shout out to Levi.
Did you? I mean, that's 8 more than you and I.
Did you ever do the math on that to see like how much money you made per play? Just curious.
Per preseason play.
per plays that didn't count.
Like hourly, just on rehab. I probably didn't make that much hourly with the number of hours of rehab.
But you got some physical therapy guys employed.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Shout out to Nick Cosgray. You're welcome for your job, buddy.
So coaching changes abound in college football. Again, Tennessee they're a mess. Apparently, they have contacted T. Martin finally. They're just in.
Finally.
It's about time.
Preliminary discussions. I think that.
They should be finalizing a contract.
The reports are that T really likes living in L.A., which, shocker.
Yeah. Who can blame him? Southern California or Knoxville?
Maybe he just changed his comeback. We already talked about Scott.
Maybe he's trying to drive his price up a little bit.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him.
Hey, at this point, use any leverage you can because Tennessee can't find a coach otherwise.
Right. We talked about Scott Frost going to Nebraska, $35 million for the next 7 years. I think it may take a couple of years before he gets them going in the right direction. Jimbo Fisher has made the move to Texas A&M, and that wasn't stunning. The contract is the numbers: 10 years, largest ever; $75 million, largest ever. Oh, it's all guaranteed.
100% guaranteed. Every single dollar.
So in 5 years, when they fire him because they haven't won the SEC yet, he's still going to get paid in full. Yeah. Good on his agent.
Again, good on your agent. Thank your agent.
I credit A&M for basically saying, "Hey, we're all in.
They wanted their guy.
We're going for it.
They did what they had to do to get.
We're going for it. We think it's the guy.
They shouldn't have taken that much money to talk him out of Florida State. It really shouldn't. He wanted out of there anyway.
Officer, I was going to say you guys have brought up over the last couple episodes. How long does it take before he tries to parlay this into an upgrade offer when he goes flirting with another school?
Right.
Because apparently that's what he does.
He's done it every year.
They're willing to pay. That's for sure.
Right. So. He has that there, and then this weird, bizarre situation at Arizona State where Herm Edwards is the coach, but they're saying he's going to be more like a general manager, and that the offensive coordinator will completely handle the O side. The defensive coordinator will completely handle that side, and he's just going to kind of oversee everything. That's how they put it. He's going to be more in the line of a general manager than an actual coach. I've never heard of this.
It's a bit perplexing.
This does not spell anything other than an absolute disaster. I don't see how this works, especially for a guy that has not coached at all in 10 years, hasn't coached in college in over 25 years.
Well,
how does he relate to kids?
So I did a little bit more research into this, and I asked a friend of mine. I asked Levi Jones, who for you guys who may not know, he was a teammate of mine here in Cincinnati. He actually was tuning in live here a little bit ago. I told him we were going to get to Herm. I don't know if he stuck around or not, but I asked him what his opinion was, and he likes it. And he's an ASU alum, first-round draft pick. He likes it. I've been reading some other stuff on Twitter from different guys, and Jake the Snake's a big fan of the hire. So
Roberts?
Jake Plummer.
Jake Plummer, come on, guy. It's one of those things that I know, right? But we kind of questioned it. But at this point, the only guy I know who's an alumni is a big fan of the hiring, and Herm has done work in coaching. He does do high school all-star games every year, and the way he put it to me is, who would you rather have sitting on your couch trying to sell you a program in the Pac-12 right now? Because Herm Edwards is going to sell you a program.
There aren't a lot of big names in the Pac-12. Good coaches, just not the big name.
No, and he's a personality, and he's a guy who
he's a figurehead,
and he's going to get you fired up. Mm-hmm. And if you want the best of the best recruits, which is what you're competing for in the area they're in, if you want the best kids out of the California, out of the West Coast, and you put Herm Edwards on your couch and a high school recruit's couch, he's going to sell you a program. And if that's what Arizona State was looking for, which it appears that they were based on kind of how they've described his role as the head coach, I think it's something that we discounted a little too much, because I think it's that if that's what they wanted, that's what they got. And it'll be interesting to see if that translates to success on the field. But, you know, we all questioned it, but, you know, it does make sense to a point, because it's hard to sell the desert to a lot of kids, and now you have a guy who can do that. And it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
I'll give Arizona State credit for trying to think outside the box and figuring, you know, the same thing we're doing, trying to do the same recruiting tactics, all that kind of stuff, same program operation as other schools. It's not working for where we think our program should be, and they're trying something different. I just don't see how this works in the long haul.
It'll be interesting, and it's, you know, we'll see how long of a leash he gets. They gave him a 5-year deal.
I guess it's worth a shot. I mean, at this point,
I just think it's either going to be a nice success or it's going to be an utter failure.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's any kind of in between.
It's not going to be instantaneous. They're not going to go to competing next season, I don't think. But if it starts to improve, you know, kind of where they sit in the Pac-12 as far as, you know, how recruits consider them, and if they can start pulling kids away from a USC, now from a UCLA with Chip Kelly going there, if they can get those kids and start to build something, because they were kind of on the right track before. You know, if they can continue to build and really become somebody that can compete, it really could work out well for them. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Josh Heupel, former Oklahoma quarterback, and indeed been offensive coordinator at Missouri. He gets Scott Frost's old job at Central Florida. The interesting thing I found out that you see about his contract, though, he has a $10 million buyout clause from now until the 2020 bowl game. So if he decides to leave early, he's going to pony up the dough. At $10 million, which
they want him sticking around.
Yeah, he'll likely get some help with that if that decides to happen. But of course, he's inheriting a pretty darn good team down there. It'll be interesting to see how many of those guys stick around at UCF. But nevertheless, you have Chad Morris, who's made the move from SMU to Arkansas. Not a stellar record at SMU, but he actually built them up from, I think, a 2-win team when he took over this past year. They won 7.
Good quote on that too. Did you see Dabo Sweeney's vote of confidence for him? Dabo said you could put Newt Rockne at SMU and probably have the same record. He just, you know, he thought what he did down there was stellar, and obviously his record as the offensive coordinator at Clemson was phenomenal.
Well, unless you go the route of what they did in the early to mid '80s.
Yeah, well, you know, but you know, honestly,
which by the way, condolences to the head coach at that time, Ron Meyer's family. Ron Meyer passed away this week.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But moving on, and then we talked about Willie Taggart bailing on Oregon after one season, so now they're looking for another coach. And I got to think, at this point now, this is the best job available.
Yeah, now that everything else has been filled, because at Oregon, you have a blank check for whatever you want.
Yeah.
Whatever you want.
Phil Knight's going to be stopping in often. What do you want? Okay, here, let me cut a check.
Let me go ahead and get that for you. I'll take care of that.
So we'll see what Oregon goes to down the road here in the coming days and weeks and whatnot. Maybe Tennessee figures themselves out. Maybe Phil Fulmer just decides, hey, I'll coach because no one wants to come here anyway. Who knows? Let's move on to the NFL side of things. And the big story that came out of this past week in the NFL was another train wreck of a game between the Steelers and the Bengals, in which Cincinnati had a 17-0 lead and 17-3 at halftime. The Bengals blew it in the second half like they seem to do quite often against Pittsburgh under Marvin Lewis.
Against Pittsburgh or everyone?
Oh, it's
specifically Pittsburgh.
Well, yeah,
specifically Pittsburgh.
They've always Pittsburgh.
Specifically Pittsburgh.
They've lost more games that they've led at halftime than any other team in the NFL since Marvin Lewis became their head coach.
Well, you've played for him for a few years. Why do you think it is?
Halftime adjustments.
Okay, are there any made, or does he just think we're good?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard because, I mean, again, you guys may not know my history. I didn't spend a lot of time on the field, so I wasn't in a lot of halftime locker rooms. But
nevertheless, you know the game plan. You know what's going on.
But I mean, you see what happens when teams come out and they, you know, like what happened on Monday night. Then the game plan just changed. Like, why get away from what you were doing? Like
it's like they were out thinking themselves.
Yeah, it almost turned into like an old school Big Ten football game where you got a lead and let's just try and sit on it.
Right.
And in the NFL, you can't do that.
It doesn't work.
A team against the Steelers, who's your rival, you can't just sit back and not do anything.
I saw a stat. Marvin Lewis is now 2-15 at home against Pittsburgh. How is that? How?
there's a lot of reasons that go into that.
We'll get into Marvin Lewis more here in just a couple of moments here. I know Keith's got some thoughts about how the franchise is working. Will they not keep Marvin around? Who knows? He's in a lame duck year. We'll talk about it here in just a moment. But the overriding story again was the violence and nature of this football game. Once again, you had Juju Smith-Schuster completely take out Vontaze Burfict out of the game. He was suspended for a game. Juju was.
I'll tell you, as a somebody that played outside linebacker, albeit at the high school level, I hate the crackback because you have at my level, some 120-pound kid level you and think that they're awesome for it.
You had that, and you had I think it might have been later on that drive, a touchdown pass in the end zone. George Iloka hits Antonio Brown up high. That one, the Iloka was originally suspended. It's been overturned to a a fine of about $36,000. So this is becoming a disturbing trend between these two teams over the years. It's turning into almost a fight on the field, and that's not exactly what you want, I would think, if you're putting out there your product. Here's a couple of numbers in to kind of back up what we're talking about here. First of all, the Bengals racked up 173 yards in penalties during this game, franchise record. These two teams since 2015 have played 7 times, including the playoff game. They have combined for almost 1,100 penalty yards in 7 games. Quick math, it's about a little over 150 penalty yards per game combined between the two. There have been, as far as extracurricular penalties, unsportsmanlike, unnecessary roughness, roughing, taunting, since 2015, there's been 32 of those penalties between these two teams in 7 games. So that's 4.5 to 5 of those per game. The next closest is 18 between the two of them.
Almost double.
And I feel like there's a lot of times that people got away with those that more should have probably or could have been called.
And the thing that gets me, there's several points here, and this is gonna go for a little bit of a discussion here. After the game, everybody's the whole storyline is how ugly this is, and you figure something has to change. AJ Green said, we got to take care of each other. Mike Mitchell said it this week, that the Steelers safety, basically echoing that point. We got to do a better job taking care of each other. But then you have Ben Roethlisberger after the game on the field asking him, what's up with this? And he says, that's just AFC North football. This kind of thing. He backtracked today. He backtracked off of it later in the week. And then you have, after the game, people talking to Juju Smith-Schuster about the hit. You have Antonio Brown yelling karma in the locker room because
he's going to pay the fine
because of the hit on Vontaze Burfict.
Well, and there's a history there because of what happened in the playoff game.
There is
where Burfict had hunted.
There's reason.
Yeah, but how are you going to yell karma while your teammate is in the hospital? At that point, you don't know if he's ever going to walk again.
Well, that again.
You look like an asshole at that point. Yeah,
but it's a different situation, and there's the history between.
There's history with Shazier, and
I agree.
But
the direct history between AB and Burfict is really what that came down to, and it's after a game, and it's one of those things that NFL players make more money than their mouth can talk about. So they're just. At that point, he probably should have just kept his mouth shut. But it's not. It's not surprising
about it. He totally should. He absolutely should have kept his mouth shut.
Yeah, I think this has been the loudest cry for something needs to change in between these two teams. You have the NFL now saying they're going to start considering an automatic ejection for targeting, like the college game has. If they determine you've been targeting, you're gone from the game. So, my thing is there's 2 points I'm going to make with this. You guys will probably disagree with me on one of these, I'm sure. Number one. For these two teams, get them out of prime time because it seems like when the lights go on, this dirtiness goes up.
Well, the Bengals should want that anyway because they can't win. Andy Dalton can't win in prime time anyway.
Well, and that's not just Andy.
Maybe that's a good idea.
That's not just Andy Dalton. It's Marvin Lewis.
Well, yeah, they just can't. They can't win big time games that are on the national stage.
I would say until there's a proven track record of several games in a row where none of this foolishness happens, don't put them on prime time at all. The number 2 thing for me, and this game was my breaking point for this. Get them out of the same division. I don't think it's going to – I'm sure it's not going to happen. But my thing is with the NFL –
No, I think the NFL likes it. Obviously, they put them on Monday night.
That's the thing. If you're going to keep this up, you're condoning what happens, and then you want to come back on the backside and start issuing fines and suspensions and things like that.
And the NFL can't talk out of both sides of their mouth. They can't say, hey, we're trying to clean up the game and player safety and blah, blah, blah. But, hey, Watch us feature this game against two teams that want to take each other's friggin' heads off.
But that's what they're
That's what I'm saying. Is you can't be playing both sides of that story. You got to do one.
They can just play dumb about it.
Roger Goodell plays dumb about everything.
To me, it's just at a point where this is not going to stop because of the coaches that you have there. Officers 3 for 3.
Done, sir.
Because Mike Tomlin, damn sure, is not going to discipline his players for this. Marvin Lewis, his track record is, hey, if he's going to play, I don't care how much of a knucklehead he is. He's going to
see Marvin do.
He's going to do clap on the sideline. That's it.
That's what he does in Madden too, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. and then after this game, Marvin's quote is, part of the job of the defense is to stop the other team. Really? And that's why you wonder where you guys are at under your tenure.
Score more than a field goal in the second half. That might make a difference too.
Well, that helps too. But this, to me, it's not going to stop until the league does something about it. And these one-game suspensions and these fines, fine. I'm at the point where I'm saying, get them out of the same division. Well, if you need the easiest move to make, put the Colts in the AFC North, put the Bengals in the AFC South, because that's screwed up geographically anyway. Mm-hmm. That Indianapolis is 90 miles northwest of Cincinnati, and they're in the South, and the Bengals are in the North. I'm at the point where they're like two little brothers who keep fighting so much, and they share a room. Yeah. And as a parent, the only option you feel like you're at a point of, you have to separate them.
That's a good analogy.
That's a really good analogy.
My boys share a room, and that's a great analogy.
Same here.
Exactly. See, you guys can relate to what I'm talking about here. It's just, I know it's not going to happen because, like you said,
and the Steelers are the big brother. They always win.
Well, exactly. Exactly. It's not going to stop until the parental figure, which in this case is the league, steps in and actually does something about it. And I'm at the point where I believe the only solution, split them up.
I don't think it's the league that makes a difference. Well, one because we know the league doesn't care about player safety; they care about ratings, and this is a game
they want it to appear that they care about player safety.
But this is a game that people want to watch, and now they want to watch it even more because it is a bit like old school smash mouth football. Because to be fair, the hits that happened in that game, some of those 10 years ago were celebrated. Like
almost all of them.
Yeah, they're highlight reel
There's
hits.
films that the NFL sold directly with it featured nothing but those types of hits.
Yeah, and now, obviously with the head injuries, and I'm not condoning them by any means, but that 10 years ago, those were hits that made highlight tape.
10 years ago, Vontez Burfict is the best linebacker in the NFL.
He's Bill Romanowski. He's Ray Lewis.
Quick question,
not anymore.
Quick question there to that point. If it's shoes on the other foot and Vontez Burfict lays out Juju Smith-Schuster, how long is he suspended?
Oh, and then stands over
and taunts him.
Yeah, until next season.
How long is he suspended?
Next season.
Right. And so here's my thing.
History thing.
Obviously, because of the history, obviously he's in a fishbowl with the NFL, and they're watching him. But he's been targeted a lot, specifically by the Steelers in their games. It should go both ways.
It happened early in the game when Le'Veon Bell tried to bait him into a unsportsmanlike conduct.
You had David DeCastro twisting his leg under the pile last year, a couple years ago. You had one of their offensive linemen literally threaten to kill him on Twitter. Come on. He's clearly being targeted. It needs to go both ways. If you're going to do it to him, you need to protect him also.
It's one of those things, and back to Jason's point is it's not going to change because the NFL isn't going to change it because this is primetime television. It's not, you can't take them out of the division. When it changes is like what some of the players hearken to after the game. When they start having more respect for each other as professionals, and they want the best for the league as far as player safety. When players themselves make a difference, when they don't go out there to hurt someone else, and I'm not blaming anyone in particular, but there are players on both sides of that rivalry. They are out there to hurt someone else.
They come out in this game on guys on both teams that aren't thugs, but they act like thugs for one night.
But that's the thing with Juju Smith-Schuster. He is a rookie. And he's already been ingrained into this rivalry. You can't tell me that's not systemic. You can't tell me on the other side with Vontez Burfict doing the things he does over and over again that other guys don't see that on the team and do the same type of things like we saw the George Iloka hit. It's systemic.
Juju Smith Schuster plays under the best receiver in the league.
Yes, he does.
And he's telling him, hey, I'll pay your fine.
Until the players themselves decide that, hey, we're taking this too far. We need to chill out a little bit. Let's just play football.
And you would have thought
that's what's going to change.
You would have
it.
thought Shazier would have been an eye-opening moment.
Well,
for that. Even though he did it to himself.
But that was also like during that game. And I think now that they're going to have time, that's their last meeting this year. They're going to have a whole off season to kind of analyze, where this rivalry is. I don't think
it's not even you can't even call it a rivalry.
Well, it's a rivalry because of the physicality.
It's a rivalry for the wrong reasons.
But and like Ben said, he said, the rivalry with the Bengals is different because we just go out there to try and hurt each other. Whereas the rivalry with the Ravens is physical, but after the play, we're like, "Hey, nice hit," and it's not
a rivalry of respect.
Yeah, and they don't have that between the two, and part of that is little brother versus big brother, and it really is because the Steelers are running away with this rivalry in the last 10 years. So it's
won like eight of 9, 9 of 10.
Yeah, it's one of those things until the players decide, and it may be some of those players that are on the current rosters are no longer there before it changes, but something has to be done internally, and part of that starts with the head coaches on both sides because they don't seem to address it either. They just give you one-liners that are crap. Well, maybe it has to get addressed within the locker room, and it has to be addressed within the players, and right now the leadership on both sides of those teams isn't doing it.
What leadership?
Maybe, exactly. There is none.
Maybe the new Bengals coach next year will address it.
You mean Marvin Lewis?
Marvin Lewis is.
Do you think they're going to re-sign him?
Keith,
he's a lame duck right now.
Keith, I don't know if he's a lame duck. We thought that before. There's been plenty of times where his contract was about to be up, and all of a sudden Marvin gets a 2-year contract extension. We're going to give him 2 more years to figure it out.
But they were usually having a playoff type year when he was getting that extension.
They're not done with the playoff type. They're not.
If they win out, they're alive.
Yeah.
Okay. So next or whatever after their next loss.
My fear with that is they could lose one more and go 3-1 down the end, finish 8-8, and because they started 0-3, Mike Brown's going to be like, see what he did after the slow start. He got us
keeps his job.
He got us back.
That's what it's been.
He got us back to 500 after that slow start. I think I'm going to give him another year.
Well, and it's cheaper to do that too.
It is, yeah. So who knows with Marvin? We'll see what's going on forward with that. Moving outside of the Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game, another suspension has come down in the league for an action on the field. This time it's Gronk up in New England, the game at Buffalo. He didn't like how he was being roughed up during the game.
A Patriots player got suspended?
Well, Tre'Davious White picked off a pass in front of Gronk. Gronk didn't like it, so after the play is over, Gronk spears him from behind, basically, so much so to the point that Tre'Davious White is now in concussion protocol. And the thing that gets me on this is Gronk got the same exact length suspension as Juju Smith-Schuster and George Iloka when Gronk's was intentional, and it was after the play was over. It was not a football play. You could argue that the Juju and George Iloka hits were in the heat of the battle.
They may be intentional, but it happened during a play.
During the play. Yeah, it was in between the whistles at least.
Gronk does this after the play's over and puts the kid in concussion protocol, and the NFL says, they're the same difference.
Yeah.
Same difference.
This is what happens when one person is in charge of your suspensions. And again, look at the name on his jersey. I mean, that's what makes the difference.
Look at the name on his jersey, or look at the logo on his helmet.
Either one.
Yeah, yes.
The name on the front or the back of the jersey. It doesn't matter. The team or the name on the back, they know who their moneymaker is.
It's to your point again, speaking out of both sides of their mouth. They say the hits, the Juju, and
player safety.
It's this that and the intentional with the intent to injure that Gronk had. I'm sorry, it's an intent to injure when you do something
that
like
that. That was absolutely egregious. That was so ridiculous.
He can say as usual, Gronk crap. You tried to hurt him, Gronk. Yeah. Sorry, you did.
You did.
And you say
I used to have a little bit of respect for Gronk, but that was trash.
And you say after that the league does that those are basically the same thing happened.
Yeah. It's the same penalty for three completely different situations. They all get the same penalty.
If it's a 1-game suspension after appeal, I could probably swallow that a little bit.
Yeah, start with 2 and go to 1, or start with 3 and go to 1. Okay, but he goes with 1. He appeals it, which blows my mind too. I don't. If they would have given him that appeal,
yeah, it was upheld. The suspension was upheld.
Luckily, they got that. If they would have gotten that wrong,
they got that right. Another team in the Northeast area that who knows what they got right and what they got wrong. It's the New York Giants. They seem to do everything wrong. Last week they bench Eli for Geno Smith. Lose in Oakland. Ben McAdoo, coach fired. GM Jerry Reese fired. Now that they're gone, and Eli's streak is busted at 210 starts. Let's go back to Eli.
Hey, they'd say, hey, let's start over.
Yeah, never mind. Yeah, let's start a new streak.
Start at one. Start at one.
It was just a disaster from the get. Eli, first of all, didn't deserve that, and I've been very critical of Eli here on the podcast since really the inception of it, saying that I just think he's gives way more credit than he should as a quarterback. But the way the situation was handled, if you're going to bench Eli to get a look at some younger guys, okay. But you can't tell me you don't know what you have in Geno Smith. Everyone in the league knows what you have in Geno Smith.
You have plenty of tape on Geno Smith to know he's terrible.
And then for the game at Oakland, you don't even make the rookie Davis Webb active. Yeah. So if something happened to Geno Smith, you're going back to Eli.
It was almost like there was like some long-standing grudge between McAdoo and
he made it personal.
And he took it out on Eli. And first of all, in a season that's lost anyway. So you're not going to go to the rookie who is you think
see what you have in the rookie.
Yeah, see what you have in the rookie. You're just going to start Geno Smith, who you know is a bum because you've got tape on him, and you're going to end Eli's streak. And he hasn't played great, and we've acknowledged that on the show before. But to be fair, he also had his receivers lead the NFL in drops.
Then his top 3 receivers are out for the season.
He's missing his top 3 to begin with.
And his numbers are on par with his career numbers.
His career. This is
what you get with Eli Manning. It's always been that way.
But just to do it like this, and you've had this has not been well received across the league, and I don't blame them. Yeah, Philip Rivers said it's pathetic. You had a bunch of like 20 to 30 former Giants players who were talking about this coming weekend wearing Eli jerseys on the sidelines in a show of support for him. I don't know if that'll happen now that Ben McAdoo has been canned. And for the handling of the situation, well-deserved. Sorry, Ben McAdoo, well-deserved. I know you took him to the playoffs last season, but to do this to Eli, it feels personal. Like that Eli did something personally to tick off Ben McAdoo, and this is fine. You want to do this? Fine. I'll end your streak and play Geno Smith, who I know is terrible.
They gave him the backhanded option of, hey, we'll let you start the first series to keep your streak alive. But
that's even more of a slap in the face.
Right. Even worse.
Right. That's even worse. Right.
And to be fair, Steve Spagnuolo came to their interim head coach came to Eli and said, Eli, do you want to play? And he's like, absolutely, I want to start.
Yeah,
it didn't want to be benched in the first place.
It was tough to watch that presser he had, meeting with the media after the decision was made and seeing nearly in tears because he was so upset.
Because they didn't even announce, McAdoo didn't even have the courtesy to announce it to the media himself.
They put out a release.
He just put out a release, and then Eli gets all the questions in front of his locker. And
because McAdoo couldn't face it.
As much as we're critical of Eli, he's earned the respect to have that better than that.
He's a 2-time winning Super Bowl champion.
He's a Hall of Fame,
14 years.
Begrudgingly Hall of Fame quarterback.
He will be in the Hall of Fame. I've said it again.
Probably shouldn't be, but will be.
He will be.
There you go. You just took words right out of my mouth.
Begrudgingly.
They botched that. A couple of quick hits here. Another situation that was botched was the attempted implosion of the old Pontiac Silverdome up in Michigan.
As if there weren't enough failures in the Pontiac Silverdome. They couldn't even blow it up right. It took them 2 shots to blow up the place.
And even on the second blow up, there were still portions of it standing. Still full portions of it standing.
I actually played in that stadium. We played our state championship game in the Silverdome.
How'd that concrete feel to play on?
Oh, that concrete box. It was so – the only thing worse was our original turf at Central Michigan. That was painful. It was after the Lions had left, and it was just beat up and trash. Our locker room was like a storage room that had like metal file cabinets around the edge. Like it was a bit of a joke, but I got to wear tennis shoes on the surface, which was kind of nice. I watched Barry Sanders play Joe Montana and Jerry Rice in that stadium too.
That's pretty cool.
Last row in the stadium, but they were on the field. I couldn't tell which one was which, but they were on the field.
The one that was moving really fast and shifty was Barry.
And running backwards.
Yeah.
Right.
The guy that caught all the passes was Jerry Rice, and the guy who threw them was Joe Montana. That was about all I could tell. I think Scott Mitchell was the quarterback at the time or something like that. It might have been Rodney Peete, maybe.
Eric Kramer, who knows?
Who knows with the Lions?
Yeah, all you remember is Barry Sanders and no one else.
Yeah.
Herman Moore?
Yeah, Barry Sanders and no one else. I know what you mean. You can maybe throw in Chris Spielman.
Fair. Yeah.
Fine.
He was a beast.
Yeah, that's all right. one of the things that's a more positive note that the league is finally starting to do is let the players express themselves a little bit more on the field. We've seen all the celebrations that have happened, team involved celebrations. Jacksonville just had a nice one where Fournette scored a touchdown, then shot a free throw at his line, and we're pretending to block out on the free throw. That was pretty good. But one of the things the league is also doing, and we want to give them credit for this, is allowing players to have special cleats designed to talk about a cause that they're promoting, a charity, maybe, or what happened, maybe a family member passed away, they want to honor that family member, again, some kind of cause that's very important to them, and they're basically giving them free reign to design however they want.
It's actually really cool. It's a really cool idea, and we talked about ahead of time, like some of the ones that we like that stood out. A couple ones for me. Larry Fitzgerald wore cleats to honor his mother who passed away from cancer. That was really cool. Jaquez Rogers, same thing. His mother actually beat leukemia. He wore cleats to honor his mother. Pierre Garçon wore some awesome cleats, and I love these because the logo on them and the way they were painted was amazing for his Helping Hands Foundation. And then finally, the best ones I thought, as far as like the graphics on them, were Michael Bennett did his for families of POWs and MIAs, and the graphics on them. If you haven't seen them, go ahead and check them out. Michael Bennett's cleats, they're phenomenal. One side is kind of like a sunset with some soldier outlines on it, and then some of the armed forces logos on them, and the MIA POW flag. They're really cool, and I'm glad the league has gone to kind of giving some individuality in this week at least to their cleats, and they can raise awareness and get something for the causes that are really close to home for those players, because we've talked about before, there's still people at the end of the day, and they have causes and they have things that are close to their heart, whether it be a family member or something they've experienced in life. And it's kind of cool that the league allows them to do something like this.
Well, it's nice that they've made that change, because you had in years past, I think it was just 2 or 3 years ago, D'Angelo Williams wanted to wear pink throughout the entire season to honor his mother who had breast cancer.
Right.
And the league said no, he couldn't do it throughout the season, so he had to dye his hair pink.
Which awesome for him for making that decision.
Kudos for him to do it, but he had to dye his hair pink just to keep the message going.
Have that.
It's nice to see the league has changed that and allowed the players to have that freedom. Back on the field, a bit of interesting news that may have some implications in the NFC playoff picture.
And the officers' playoff picks.
Yes, as Super Bowl champion, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
It was the Super Bowl champion.
Aaron Rodgers is back at practice.
So you're saying there's a chance?
they're in the hunt.
He's back at practice. Scout team quarterback just had a surgery a few weeks ago for the busted collarbone. Eligible to come back in a couple of weeks when they take on the Panthers. Brett Hundley's sort of kept him afloat. It's 6-6. They're going to need some help if they want to get into the playoffs before he returns. But the one thing for that is they play the Cleveland Browns this Sunday. So there's a good chance that they can get a win there, get themselves over.
Good chance to move to 7-6 there.
Yeah, so who knows? You never know towards the end of the season. Again, Green Bay's going to need some help. The NFC is starting to become top-heavy these last few weeks, so maybe Rodgers can get back in time to help Green Bay get into the playoffs, although it's going to have to be the wild card because Minnesota is just running hidden in that division race. They're so far ahead right now. It looks like it's theirs handily at that point. So Green Bay takes on Cleveland this week. If you haven't been watching the NFL, Cleveland lost again, this time out in L.A. to the Chargers.
Wait. Cleveland lost?
Tough to imagine, isn't it?
Hashtag breaking news.
Man.
Where were they?
Cleveland fell again.
That's not fake news?
No, it's not fake news.
Hashtag real news.
They're 0-12 now, 0-11, 0-12.
Hashtag real bad.
They're
0-12.
They're over. They're the opposite of undefeated. They're defeated.
I can't even recall how many losses they have. I guess it'd be 0-12 now.
4 weeks to play.
There you go. So they've got Green Bay this weekend. And we bring up Cleveland because to close out the show here on this episode of the Fumblegate podcast, we now turn to the officer for his weekly installment of Everybody. Cleveland.
Dumpster fire.
Jeez, what did they
smells so bad.
Officer, what did they screw up this week?
Okay, so I just got to throw a little disclaimer out there. My last couple Cleveland's have been a bit long-winded. It's not my fault. It's actually Cleveland's fault.
There's so much material.
So much. So I had to pare it back significantly because I want to say my last segment when we recorded it was like 15 minutes, and you ended up having to take stuff out just because
for time constraints.
Yeah. It's that there's just so much. So with that in mind,
I
have one single honorable / not honorable
is
mention. And with 5 minutes left in the game, they're down 9 points. They actually are in the game. Deshaun Kaiser stands out of the pocket with nothing but wide open field in front of him, and he run. Just do something.
Green grass.
Move, throw, run, do something. Don't just stand there shell shocked and get strip sacked and let the other team recover it. So that way you don't come away with a score.
So what did he do?
So you guess.
Did he take a strip sack?
He Clevelanded it. So instead of being down 9 and taking even a field goal and then being down less than a touchdown.
One score.
Right. Nope. They Clevelanded it.
Cleveland did it.
Hashtag Cleveland did it.
Oh, goodness. Cleveland did it.
What else did they Cleveland?
All right. So only in Cleveland does a Browns fan secure permits and raise $3,000 to fund a parade to quote unquote celebrate an 0-16 season.
Yes.
Yeah. Now the money is going to pay for security, restrooms, medical personnel, and other things. So this is like a legit. I mean, he's really.
No, he made a parade route. Like they have the parade route.
He got the permit
in his permit. They have a parade route laid out,
right,
where it's going to go from and to.
So now, if Cleveland does accidentally win, the money will be donated to the Cleveland Food Bank. So good for this guy.
Good for him.
He's having fun with
it.
Well
done for him.
This is actually called Perfect Season 2.0.
What do you mean 0.2?
Well, because he tried the same thing last year until they accidentally won a game in late December.
They beat the Chargers last year, the second to last game.
Yeah. So for that, that's Cleveland. Hold on, but
you got more?
I do have a little preview, just a little tidbit, and so
is this a tease for next week?
This is a tease. This is why you should. This is why you should
tease me.
Check us out next week.
Check us out on the podcast and on Facebook Live. Go ahead.
If the Browns lose this week, I will let you know the dubious honor that Hugh Jackson will achieve as the coach. It's probably going to be it's probably going to be beyond an honorable mention. Although you never know, they might do something.
Yeah, don't ever underestimate the deplorability of Cleveland.
We can say it's the leader in the clubhouse now.
But it is a fun little stat.
Something that's never been done before.
It's been done before.
Yes and no.
Over a considerably different amount of time.
So the fastest to do something.
Yes and no.
All right, we're just teasing you. We can't stop teasing you.
Yeah, can't stop, won't stop. So with that,
this has been your weekly installment of
Cleveland. Mistake by the lake.
I know.
Inbred.
Some reason they put friggin' Youngstown, Ohio as the final puzzle today on Wheel of Fortune. And the guy knew it. How do you know that? How do you know Youngstown, Ohio? Unless you're from Cleveland, how would you even know where Youngstown is? Besides that, the Penguins.
I know where Youngstown is.
Because the Penguins play there.
And I got a recruit.
Shout out both
You almost went there.
You got the recruiting letter that you didn't do anything with.
They were one of 2 colleges that were interested in my playing abilities.
You don't want to be a fighting Penguin?
You know what? I just didn't want to. I don't know what.
You didn't want to go to Youngstown. Again, that was the one other time you researched the Cleveland area and you found out what Youngstown, Ohio was really like. Anytime Cleveland, one of your suburbs is Youngstown, not getting any better for you.
Yep, I knew as a juvenile, as a not even 18-year-old kid yet,
how bad it could be.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, Joe Thomas. We still love you, Joe.
Yes. Sorry, Joe Thomas.
In the first NFL podcast.
Rest of Cleveland, not sorry.
and by the way, Joe Thomas did start his own podcast called The First Podcast Ever, which is great.
That is awesome.
Which is great. Awesome. So follow Joe Thomas on Twitter and
listen to his podcast after you listen to ours.
And Joe, give us a shout back, man. Come on, give us a retweet.
Hey, this goes
Joe.
both ways. Maybe some of our massive number of listeners can go check him out, and he can send
Joe,
some our way.
Send us some listeners. Hey, we'll have you on the show too.
Reciprocity, Joe. That's what we're
looking
for.
Right.
That's what
We
we're
love
looking
you.
for.
If you know, like, as much as we hate Cleveland and the Browns. We love Joe Thomas,
Yeah,
and
it's
we
not
mention
you.
that
Love
like
you.
almost weekly.
In your
So-
case, it's not personal.
no,
it's not
everyone else. It's personal.
It's not your fault you got drafted by that. Well, it kind of is your fault. You should have been so good, but it's not
Why'd
your-
you have
it's
to
not-
be a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, don't be a Hall of Famer for the
Be like
Browns. Come on.
Keith.
Be like me. You earn less money that way.
With that, we're going to wrap it up for this week on the Fumblegate podcast. Follow us at Fumblegate, #Fumblegate, FGP Cop, Fumblegate Fatty, FumblegatePodcast@gmail.com. We'll see you next week on Fumblegate.
Shout out. Love it. Joe Thomas.
Do we keep the
Tweeter.
do we keep the stream going and
Ooh.
see if
Any post game comments?
kind of bullshit on here? Do we address the comments we've gotten through here and see if anybody,
we're
That's
still
a lot
going.
of them,
Yeah, welcome to the Fumblegate postgame
Post game show.
show here on Facebook Live.
this is the after party.
Shout out to Kevin Hansen from Kansas City tuning us in.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's my brother-in-law. Shout out, Kevin.
Yeah,
What's up, man?
Yeah, shout out Kevin. He tuned in as the night has gone on, so we want to thank him for checking us out.
I'd like to thank Autumn Lawrence for pointing out that gray hair is sexy.
Shout out Autumn.
I
Good for you.
happen to agree.
Good for you.
Hey, Coach Blevins has been with us the entire time, by the way. Shout out, Coach. Good to see you on the show.
Hey, Coach. We thank you for tuning in.
He's got some good insight. I was trying to follow. He's got some good insight. He also agrees that Cleveland is terrible, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Is there anybody that disagrees?
Probably less people that there's probably more people that like kickers than like Cleveland.
Did you like my? I mean, just talking about Cleveland or whatever, and then for the purpose of the podcast, it just sounded like whatever. But they got the one finger salute for the live for the stream.
Nancy says, "Good job, Adam."
Yeah, that's my Aunt Nancy. Hi, Aunt Nancy. My sister just gave us a little shout out. What's up, sis? It's family. I'm just rolling family through here. But hey, if it gets us listens.
I'm leaning in to try and see some of the comments because it's pretty far away where my computer is right now, so I have to lean in because I haven't been to the eye doctor.
The camera
Comments
we're
are really
using is the
small.
computer camera, so we have to keep it far away.
Yes.
We're working on our setup here. This is obviously very.
Oh, Jim gave us a little shout. What's up, Jim? Jim said we had a good show tonight.
Hey, Jimmy.
Thanks, Jim.
We
Thanks.
appreciate that.
We
Thanks
appreciate it.
Thanks for that bourbon and the ghetto, by the way.
Yeah.
He sent you Geta?
He sent me a text message when I walked in the room when we were getting ready.
Yeah.
Pointing out that I had forgotten my glasses.
Good thing can't go on without those.
Yeah, really.
We got to keep a lot of anonymity around here, especially with famous people like me on the show.
Right. Yeah.
The least famous Bengal
Ever.
You still have that in your Twitter profile?
Yeah, that's the first line of my Twitter profile.
The least famous
I
Bengal
tag the Bengals. Now it's at Bengals.
Oh, there you
It's
go.
at Bengals.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to add any listeners, but it might.
Well, people search.
People who pay attention to the Bengals. I mean, I can't be any worse than some of the guys that are actually playing right now.
So I started following the Browns on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good follow though, because even they kind of make fun of themselves.
It's so
They
easy.
get it.
It's so easy. Like, so I've just been trolling them, and that, obviously they I'm sure don't care, but some of the fans get pretty fired up. Like I had one guy, I don't even remember what my comment was, and he says,
Doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. And he says, and I'm paraphrasing here, but I'm not even going to respond to a fan from a rival team. Fuck off. So my response was,
You just did.
You absolutely just responded to a fan from a rival team, division rival. You can't even call it. Wouldn't even call that a rivalry either, though.
No, I wouldn't. No. They don't have a rival.
No.
What's up, Coach Kruger? Good to see you on here. Oh, not bad.
I think they enjoyed it.
Yeah,
This was fun.
We had a lot of
It was
people
fun.
in
I
it,
like
but it
this.
was kind of fun. We got to find a better way so I don't have to keep looking down at my phone and respond to people. Maybe that's a little.
Well, so
That's all right.
we need a camera.
Well, and we need to set it up so because I feel awkward. Like I keep looking up at you guys like this, so we need to set it up where we can all.
Well,
kinda,
if we can get a camera that sets up further away, we can kind of sit how we normally do, which is kind of a little more spread out. We're kind of like literally boom, boom, boom.
I normally sit over behind the computer,
and I'm over
at the
here,
computer screen over
so
here.
off the screen.
Adam sits about right close to where I'm sitting. And then
Dan says, "LOL, picking Wisconsin."
biggest homer in the chat, Dan. Stop it. If you want to come on, we can do some football actual discussion if you'd like.
You want to make something of it?
We had a guy who
you want to go?
We had a guy who was a homer like you, and he was a little bit too much of a homer. His team got their asses kicked too. So if you want to come on, you're more than welcome. You bum.
He who will not be spoken.
He will not be spoken. For all now that you're on the after show, we'll explain why Drew is no longer here. When we picked our teams last week, he only went 3 for 3, and we're so cutthroat on the Fumblegate podcast that when you're 3 for 3, you get voted off the island.
That's bull.
You're off the island.
You got to be at least 5-1.
You got to
minimum. That's where we cut it off.
You get voted off the island. We're cutthroat around
and they're barely hanging on at 5-1. I almost got rid of both of them.
You can't read this, but it says Drew. I vote Drew off the island.
I vote for Drew. We're not even anonymous around here. We're just going to straight up tell you.
If you want to give him crap for doing it. Hey, are the wives trying to come in?
Hold on, I want to hear about this dress shoes at the
what?
At the award ceremony.
Dress shoes.
It's been brought up in the chat here multiple times. I'm curious.
Oh, did you wear a suit?
No, I went shirt and tie. I went with shirt and tie. But my dress shoes are Nike Air Force Ones. They're patent leather. They're shiny as crap. They're awesome. Shout out to Q. Q loves them.
That's your excuse. They're patent leather.
I don't know what they are. I bought them when I was sponsored by Nike.
Instead of dress shoes. Free.
I don't like dress shoes. Well, the fact that I even put a tie on is impressive for me. I tucked a shirt in. I had a tie on. Like I don't do that.
Did your wife tie the tie?
No, I can tie my own tie.
You can tie your own tie?
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
I can dress up if I want to. I just don't do
it. Coach Tom Krieger, am I pronouncing that right? Do you guys know him?
Yeah. No.
So he asked how often we're on. So the podcast is on every Thursday.
Yeah, good question.
So this is the first time we've been on Facebook. So we typically record on Wednesday, sometimes Tuesday, maybe for the purpose now of
keeping
Facebook,
a schedule.
We might do it every Wednesday.
Yeah.
I would say we'll shoot for.
Yeah, likely every Wednesday. It's usually trying to get going around between 9 and 10 in the evening, just because everybody's got outside responsibilities.
It's my fault. It's when my children go to bed as well.
Well, everybody's got their outside responsibilities.
Yeah, my kids don't go to bed till a certain time either, so it's
And we have to travel. So whether we're at my house or the officer's house, we have to travel.
Right,
so there is a 40-minute downtime from getting from place to place.
Every Thursday
if you got to poop beforehand.
Yeah.
Before you travel.
Sometimes you got to poop before.
So we don't have a $200 plumbing bill here at this house. Every Thursday is when the show drops podcast form, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher. But I think going forward, we're going to try and just basically do the recording of it here every Wednesday night so you can tune in, and if you want to listen to it in podcast form the next day, or when you tune in, listen to it podcast form the next day, that's the same thing. So you can get refamiliar with the material, and then, hey, next week you can come back and submit questions based on last week's show.
Absolutely. And I just want to thank everybody that tuned in. We had at least a handful of people that stayed all the way throughout.
We got all the way up to like 15 at one point, which is kind of fun.
We really appreciate that. And if you guys liked it, share it, get us out there. Obviously, the more the merrier. And
we're working with a very big budget around here. Zero.
You see, we have a blanket laid across our cords here.
Don't tell everybody our secrets. You want to sponsor? Right there. There's a banner spot right there just for you.
And I'll leave. This is my my office. I'll leave it up even when we're not recording. So anybody that happens to come in my house, you're reaching them too.
There might be a little kid's birthday party that they can all be featured.
Right.
You can be featured at a nice twins birthday party in the future.
Yes.
So if you want to be involved with it, fumblegatepodcast@gmail.com. Wait. Your business here. Your business here.
Not so much here.
Not so much here.
Here.
Your beer here.
Yeah. Your choice of drink caller went your mic, you idiot.
There could be a bottle of whiskey here instead of a glass.
And we'll make sure to put it real close to the camera so you can see what it is. We'll leave it there the whole time. I don't care. Again, but we really do want to thank everyone who has been watching, who stayed with us throughout the show. Maybe you've tuned in and out as your night's gone on. We really do appreciate that.
Yes.
And hey, Coach, if you want to sponsor us with high and tight stuff, by all means, we will feature you on the show. If you
on it.
Yeah. email us at fumblegate@gmail.com.
Fumblegatepodcast@gmail.com, Coach.
Coach,
get in on the ground level. Right now, it doesn't take
Coach
much.
started from the ground level, and he's built his business. Coach, I know.
While it lasts.
Coach, I know you built your business from the ground. So if you want to come in and help us from the ground up, then you're more than welcome to come in, Coach.
Yes, we would certainly welcome that opportunity. This is fun.
He just said he sent us a banner.
What?
I need a better
awesome.
mic stand too, but
Well, we went different because you're sitting lower.
I know.
Well, we had to change up our whole the way we do things.
It'll be a different
for the live
angle.
show. Honestly, we weren't initially planning to go live tonight, and we just kind of
This is going to
by
be
the seat of our pants.
This is going to be like a 10-15 minute test run, and then we would record. But
it was
things
fun.
were going all right, and
Yeah.
then we just kept rolling with it.
Yep.
What did my wife comment?
You can't scroll back
that's
into the
that's
comments,
different.
which is kind of frustrating.
That's.
I can only scroll up like a dozen comments, so I can't go back to during the
Yeah.
show. I was trying to see if Levi stuck around until we talked about.
We have to
Herm.
get a hold of him. What's he up to nowadays, Levi
He's,
Jones?
he's back out in Arizona. He's owns a RV dealership, I believe.
Okay, Levi Jones. If you're ever back in the Cincinnati area, hey, come on the show.
Yeah,
We got a 4-spot open.
So you could use your dealership. We could sponsor your dealership on the show.
Yeah, we'll give your dealership a shout out.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, just give us an RV and we'll I'm
We-
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
We got Coach
We
Blevins asking
could take
about.
the show on the road. If you want to give us an RV, we'll take the show on the road. We'll come to Arizona. We'll film with you in Arizona.
Just the caveat is we need the
Hell,
RV.
we'll even Skype you. We'll figure whatever. We'll figure it out. We're easy.
We need the RV first. So Levi Jones.
Coach, you want to write intro music? Is that what you're saying, Coach? You want to do some intro music? Because we're always over for intro music
Yes.
too.
So the story behind the intro music is apparently you have to pay royalties
Yeah,
for
what the
most
crap?
music stuff you use. So it's very limited for free music. So we picked the best that we could find out of the free, which we're not complaining.
It's not bad
It's not bad.
for free. It's not bad.
the fatty here played some music last week regarding the different scenarios in the college football playoff.
It was a great clip.
It was
I
a
know,
great
we
clip,
had
but
to cut it out.
I had to take it out.
got no budget.
because of those reasons. You see what the sponsors we have on the wall here.
But that being said, somebody wants to hook us up with some music that we don't have to pay royalties for. Absolutely, we would love to put it on.
And
the
we'll
show.
give you a mention every week.
and get on the ground. Get in on the ground
on
floor.
the ground floor while it's cheap.
We're
By
headed.
cheap, I
We're
mean
headed to the
probably
top.
free.
Headed to the top.
It's a limited time offer.
Again, our budget has a lot of zeros in it. No other numbers, just zeros.
Right.
You never know. I feel like we're sounding really pathetic right now.
Yeah, we are. We're begging to the 5 people who are still listening.
You know what, though? It's fun.
Yeah, it is. No, we really do, in all sincerity, we want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight, listening every week to the show, the podcast form, and I think we found something new. We're gonna roll with for.
I had a blast.
It was great.
This was. I've had fun doing the podcast every week we do it.
Sure.
This made it twice as much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to find a way we can interact a little bit quicker with the people who are on, and that way in
We're
the future,
working on it.
because there will be a time where there'll be less of stuff for us to use, particularly when the college football season's over.
Yeah.
We're gonna need some more stuff to talk about, and it'll be great to take some questions from fans in the future.
We could have a Q&A segment or something.
absolutely.
Something.
Yeah, ask me any question you want.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be football
Doesn't have
related.
to be football related.
You want to ask a cop?
Ooh.
Throw it out there.
Ooh.
I don't have any cool.
I'll ask
stories.
honestly. Hey, I'm anonymous right now. I'll give you an honest answer.
There you go.
Yeah, you're
God, I
off.
love
You're
it.
off duty. What do you?
I love those glasses.
Aren't
Those
they great?
glasses are
It looks
awesome.
like we actually have the.
I know, it's amazing. Like, again, our budget zero, but it looks like we got
Right.
a good budget.
Yeah, right.
I got an idea.
Nope, $3 on
I got
Amazon.
an idea. Officer, get down and hide so they don't see your face, and hand me your glasses so I can put them up to the camera and move up closer. Don't fall. Oh boy, I'm gonna show these glasses to you folks out there. You gotta get down, otherwise people don't
Or
see
just
you.
turn around. Turn
Yeah,
around.
or turn around. That's fine. Okay, here we go. See that? Look at that.
That's our budget.
Need to clean them up a little bit, but they do look pretty good. Oh man, this is fun.
It's just a thick strip of plastic with sides on them and a nose clip, and it's great. And you, from a distance, you might think that's some digital trick we did to blur someone's eyes out.
Yeah, like
Nope.
we're fancy.
Yep, nope. That was
Nope, we're not fancy.
That was $3.
Not fancy, like my haircut. Not fancy.
I see a little gray streak in there, right?
I
there
told
at the top.
you.
Right
You
there
can,
at the top.
you can see it on the camera.
You can
There
see it
is.
right there.
Yeah.
You thought I was lying.
Can you see
There's
my?
the gray.
Can you see my gray?
I'm missing the part that isn't gray. Like, did you start with white hair and you're going back to brown?
That's
I'm
reverse.
going brown.
Just reverse just for men.
I will say
gonna
that I admit there is a lot of gray in there. It's symmetrical. So like my whole Fu Manchu.
The Fu Manchu, it looks like you've dyed it.
But I know.
You need to just rock the Fu Manchu.
You remember when Hulk Hogan went to the Wolf Pack?
Yeah.
Yeah, the NWO.
It looks like that's what I'm trying to do, but this is actually
With
how
the
my
blonde hair and the black Fu Manchu.
yes, this is how mine actually grows.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great reference for all of you.
W-O.
Little wolf pack action.
Yeah, throw it up. Too sweet. Throw it up there.
Wolfpack. Oh man, WW or WCW. Those were amazing.
The Goldberg era.
Oh yeah, Goldberg was the man.
Yeah,
Wasn't he? Former football player, former Atlanta Falcon, by the way. Maybe we'll have him on the show. He used to play football. Let's get Goldberg on the show. He's got the gray beard too.
He does.
We got so many things in common.
Right?
He and I played
the same
football for
person.
not a very long time. You and him got gray beards.
Yeah.
Come on, Goldberg, hit us up.
Come on. Hey,
Is he on the tweeter?
If any of our listeners know
I think he
Bill
is.
Goldberg, get him on here.
I would love to interview Goldberg.
Dude, he is a man.
Oh, he'd be great. Oh, now I got more. Ooh, there we go. What the-
I think we're about at our
we
end
run
here.
out of time. How much?
we're-
When do they
we're
kick
about-
us out?
I don't think they don't. I'm just saying. I think we're kind of reaching our end.
Yeah,
here.
it's
We've
about
been
that time.
up for almost 2 hours.
We're kind of dying here.
I gotta go home. I gotta go home because my kids are gonna wake up in the morning and I gotta take them to school.
Okay, so
Hey, shout out again for everybody who's still listening.
yeah, we're
Coach
gonna go.
Blevins, appreciate you sticking with us.
We got one.
We got somebody got a ticket the other night. Coach Blevins said, let's see. He said he didn't know how fast I was going, but he gave me a ticket for 65 and a 45. Yeah,
That'll get you.
I don't know. So I will throw.
It was Claremont County, by the way, so we got to preface that. Officer does not work in Claremont County.
I work in a much more urban environment, and I will say I have never written a speeding ticket in my double-digit career, and so I should have said that. When it comes to traffic stuff, I'm not the guy. Like, so the neighborhood I was in, and I won't say, but basically when I pulled you over, I had two criteria. It didn't matter what I pulled you over for. I had two criteria to decide if you were going to get a ticket. If you had a valid license and you didn't cuss me out, you didn't get a ticket. I don't care what you did. And guess what? I wrote a lot of tickets. So
don't be an idiot.
So yeah. So but no, honestly, like the speeding stuff and like I said, never written a speeding ticket. I've not been trained on radar or laser. I'm proud of that. But no, so I can't help you on that one. I honestly don't know. I think some of that stuff's
good question out there. Starting next week after the show, I think we'll do another like Q&A type of thing. Any questions regarding football?
Or we could open it with pre-show. We can do a little pre-show Q&A.
Maybe a little bit of both.
Do a little bit of both.
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
If you have some
We're
questions
here for the fans.
A
We're here
question
for
for
you.
the officer. A question for a former Cincinnati Bengal. You won't have any questions for me because I don't have any cool stories like that.
Maybe they have Georgetown Tigers questions. I got some Facebook friends that are Georgetown
some
Tigers.
questions about the industry.
Yeah, okay, sure.
He has a degree in broadcasting. He
Sure.
went to UK. You might have a question about UK and how much they pay their basketball players. Ask this guy. He might know.
Officially.
You won't let
Officially, they pay him as much as our budget.
We don't.
0.
Okay.
So now we're stringing everybody along. It's time to go to bed.
Yeah, we're gonna sign off now. Again, we want to thank everyone for tuning in. We're gonna try to do this every Wednesday, right around 9:30 ish, maybe 10 o'clock. Maybe we should just set it for 10 o'clock. I don't know. We'll see going forward. And every week recording this, you can hear it every Thursday. SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Fumblegate Podcast, gmail.com, Fumblegate Fatty, FGP Cop on the Twitter. I hold the whole thing down at Fumblegate. The link to my personal Twitter page is on there. If you want to give my personal one a follow, go right ahead. You want your drink on the show, FumblegatePodcast@gmail.com, or doing the Price is Right thing.
Right.
We might be high and tight. That might be high and tight next week.
That could be. This could be you. But we'll find out next week. Once again, thanks for everyone tuning in, and we'll see you.
Now you have to awkwardly get up and walk over to the
Finish.